The NBA is rigged. Is anybody surprised? I don't know if the whole thing is rigged, but there's this massive scandal. 34 indictments, professional players getting wrapped up in not just rigging games and flubbing the ball, but also mafia-tied illegal poker games. And so, you know, we actually, before the show's getting started, does anyone here actually know anything about sports? Fortunately, Tate does. So he's sitting here, and we're going to have... But this is a crazy story. Stephen A. Smith says this is Trump's revenge. Despite the fact the investigation has been going on for several years and it started during the Biden administration, Democrats are still trying to find a way to make this Trump's fault that professional coaches and NBA players were ripping people off with illegal rigged poker games and rigging actual NBA basketball games. Okay, that's how you know people have lost their minds. So let's talk about something kind of normal for once, like the NBA being rigged, which I think most people already assumed. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more. Before we do, my friends, we've got a great sponsor. It is Beam Dream. You know I love my Beam Dream. I drink it every single night. My sleep has been absolutely fantastic. Well, we've actually got some new information. They're doing a big sale, 50% off right now. So, guys, if you follow my work, you know that I don't really have an off switch. It's funny because they wrote that. It's true, though. Between breaking news, nonstop politics, and producing content, my brain is on overdrive 24/7. Indeed. I do a morning show. I get up at around 7 a.m. Then we record from maybe around like 8:30 till 2. And then, of course, there's an hour live in there. So it's basically 3 or 4 podcasts per day. I don't know how I'm still breathing. But I started drinking Beam Dream. It's got L-theanine. It's got melatonin, magnesium in it. It is absolutely incredible. It tastes great. Cinnamon cocoa is my favorite, but I just ordered the pumpkin spice. Very excited. So what I love about it, it's not a gimmick. It's clean. It's science-backed. It's got all that good stuff in it to help you sleep. Good, deep, consistent sleep. And if you're a guy, you got to understand testosterone and human growth hormone. That's produced by your body during deep sleep and REM sleep. So you need to get your sleep. This is no joke. If you've been running on fumes, now's your chance to fix that. Beam has given me early access to their Black Friday sale. Oh, boy. The biggest sale of the year. Beam Dream's up to 50% off right now, the lowest price ever. Go to shopbeam.com/Timcast. Use code Timcast, and you will get up to 50% off. And no joke, I absolutely recommend this stuff. It is every night right after the show. We wrap the uncensored portion. I go home, I make a glass, I drink it before I go to bed, and I wake up feeling like $1,000,000. Absolutely. We got another great sponsor. It's Backyard Butchers. Boy, do I love a good ribeye, my friends. Did you guys know that there's Big Pharma? There's also Big Ag. 85% of American meat is controlled by just 4 major companies. Just because you buy America doesn't mean you're buying healthy. And buying organic only means they control what the cattle eat, not how they live. Backyard Butchers Texas steer steaks come directly from a real Texas ranch where cattle are raised, processed, and shipped from the same location, completely bypassing Big AG. These Texas steers are 98% grass-fed, 2% natural grain finished, with no growth hormones, no antibiotics, no preservatives. The quality and flavor are exceptional. Making America healthy again starts with going back to our roots and eating real meat from the hardworking ranchers who raise cattle right. Go to backyardbutchers.com/Tim. Use promo code Tim for up to 30% off, 2 free 10-ounce ribeyes, and free shipping when you subscribe. Fight back against Big Ag with your fork. Support American ranchers and Texas. Backyardbutchers.com/Tim, promo code Tim. But don't forget also, smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Oh, man, we got a lot more to talk about than just sports because we need to hear the story of this man, George Santos.
Who, me?
Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, who is George Santos?
I guess it's you.
Can the real George Santos stand up?
Well, you were in jail. You're not in jail anymore.
Thanks to President Trump.
Yeah. I think everybody knows who you are, but...
do they, though?
Well, then introduce yourself.
Well, no, it's great to be here with you. I was actually listening to you talk about the meat sponsor, and I'm just like, oh, wow, like this is something I know really well about. So I was like...
You're ordering meat?
No, it's just... It's good to be here. It really is. I'm speechless. Oh, my God. Who is a real George Santos? I guess... to some Americans, the biggest liar in Congress, which I think is hilarious because that's such a high bar. And for me to reach that, I think that is absolutely...
that's impressive. You should get an award for it.
Yeah, I should, because it would be a fraud of an award because nobody really wants to take it. But hey, I'll take the award. I like shiny things on my wall. But no, look, I think I embodied, unfortunately, the worst way of doing things, which is like fake it till you make it. And that's just not something I condone, but I did engage in it. Elaad would you would agree with that, right?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, you did it to the top.
Yeah, which is you shouldn't, because then I went to prison, and fresh out of prison, 84 days in prison really humbles you. Like
Especially solitary.
41 of those in solitary confinement, which you would think in the United States of America we would have already stop doing that, and really it's an abominable practice. And if they can do it to me, imagine what they can do to like Joe Schmo. Like with I'm a privileged person, right? I know members of Congress, I know members of the Trump family, and if they can do it to somebody like me who's like quote connected, imagine what they do to like random inmates.
I don't know, I'm gonna call shenanigans anyway. Libby's here.
I'm Libby, and I'm here. I'm Libby Evans at the Post Millennial. Glad to be here with everybody. And Human Events. Can't forget Human Events. Glad to be here with everybody.
Right on. And Tate's here too, because we don't know anything about sports.
It's true. I'm a bread and circuses enjoyer, I would say. Tate Brown here, holding it down. I am a George Santos nationalist. So whatever stunt Google's pulling right now, we're on them. We're on their case. We know what's going on.
Restarting it appeared to have worked.
Sweet.
People are saying it's working again. So welcome to the show. Perfect. I guess we're jumping straight to the news, right? Here we go from USA Today. Oh man, I love this story because it combines a ton of what I love: cybersecurity, mafia, dark side, politics, and poker. We got it all. From USA Today, NBA gambling scandal live updates. Chauncey Billups, how do you pronounce this? Terry Rozier?
Terry Rozier.
Rozier. I don't even know how to say his name. Bro,
you can say Scary. His nickname is Scary Terry, so you can just call him Scary Terry.
I guarantee you that the amount of people who know how to say, how do you say his name?
Rozier. Dude, even the prosecutor couldn't say it.
But but there's tons of people who do, but those people also are going to be like, who's Tim Burchett? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then we here are going to be like, well, of course we know Tim. Like, we are all in the political space. Can you summarize what happened? Because you know sports.
Yeah. Well, so there's two indictments. Obviously, there's the poker side, the illegal poker games, and that's what Chauncey Billups was indicted on. They're saying he was the face card. That's what they called it in the indictment. So he was the celebrity presence at the poker table to draw people into these games. And then the other indictment was basically match fixing. They were saying with the sports betting that the players were feeding information to bookies or to anybody that would be wanting to place a bet, and they would use that information to their advantage. So Terry Rozier was the prominent player named here. They're calling him a superstar, which is really a bit of an overstatement. He was a backup at the Boston Celtics, started playing really well. I think he held down the starting gig for like a year or two. And then he signed a huge contract with the Charlotte Hornets. So that's what everyone's kind of scratching their heads here, is because he's made about $160 million over his career so far. He's only 31, so he's still got 4 or 5 years left in the league. And so, I mean, that's the big thing everyone's kind of looking at, is like, these guys, they're not short on cash. So why would they need to go into business, presumably with the mob? That's what's being, obviously speculated here. But yeah, so there's two prongs to this criminal enterprise that are currently being investigated by the FBI.
We have that video of Terry Rozier. You said his name is?
Terry Rozier, yeah.
Rozier. Oh, is this right here? No, wait, that's not it. And it's absolutely hilarious. I'm pulling it up right now.
And this is from one game.
Anybody who doesn't play basketball, let me start this over. Just watch.
And the meter's still running, Richard. And still going.
That was the most obvious.
Again, having a tough night. And Rozier off the DHO.
Rozier.
Turn it up. But you don't want to play anything clean, especially against the Miami.
I don't play basketball, but that's really bad.
This is like,
but in your volleyball experience,
Oh yeah, no. That's really bad. But I can play volleyball better than they play basketball.
okay, so it's the second one. This one right here.
Yeah.
This is the most obvious because he starts running the other way as soon as he throws the ball. Like, what's he doing? What was he trying to fake?
There's nothing there. I mean, look, I held down the backup point guard position for, I don't want to say the team, And I'd never made mistakes like that. And this was, varsity basketball. We're not talking about high level. This is what you see at a Lifetime Fitness at like 6 p.m. like a drunk guy.
No.
He's going through a divorce. It's not looking good for him.
On Lifetime. No.
I'm not. Lifetime's a great
Lifetime at 6
institution. Lifetime's a great institution, but you're not going to get the most high quality basketball there. This guy, he's going through like a divorce or something. That's the kind of pass he throws. You don't expect that pass from the starting point guard of the Miami Heat 3 times in one game.
What?
Right. That's what I'm saying. What?
What?
I'm surprised this stuff isn't more common, frankly.
Well, there's been other players that have been speculated because they just have abhorrent games out of nowhere. They're making very sloppy mistakes. Malik Beasley is this famous example that people look into, and they say he was throwing matches. Terry Rozier, if you go back, there's people that were tweeting after this game specifically saying like, holy crap, dude, if you're going to like match fix, you need to make it a little less obvious.
There are viral tweets where people are saying they need to also investigate a ton of other people who ended up getting indicted as well.
Yeah.
Well, they have that issue in soccer a lot, right?
Oh,
Soccer players
soccer's
throw
bad.
games all the time. Brazil.
They throw themselves on the ground.
I mean,
they're just like, hey,
they're
you
great
knocked me
actors. The thing
down.
about soccer today, it's like you'll see like Neymar in Brazil, number one offender of like acting. You'll see like a kick go near him. He takes the advantage, throws himself on the floor. Then you'll have that slow motion zoom in every angle possible, and he's like a foot away from the kick, but he's still on the floor rolling. Like, did a phantom kick hurt you? Like, dude, it's like they throw themselves like they fake injure to get out of the game.
And I don't understand how they let him get away with it.
And he makes $400 million.
And the thing,
400?
That's his contract, yeah.
That's crazy.
For how many years, though?
I think it's like whenever they sign and buy these soccer players, they're traded for a lot more money than NBA players.
Well, yeah, because in America,
like 1 year at $400 million. That's
There's no way.
no, it's true. American
European
athletes
leagues, are
make
you
the
kidding?
most.
Oh my
One
god.
year, $400
I don't.
million.
I'm not gonna put money on 1 year, but
That's
their
like
contracts are insane.
That's more than the GDP of several small island nations.
Very true.
Well, the
Haiti,
most,
who?
I think I might be
GDP
worth
might
more.
be like,
I think me.
He can probably feed Haiti.
Right,
Actually feed Haiti.
It's true.
Not like the Clintons fed Haiti.
No, I can throw some mud and some wheat together. I can make it happen.
I can make some cookies for you.
But the most egregious indictment was Jonte Porter, who was actually banned from the NBA. He played for the Toronto Raptors, and they busted him because he, I guess, tipped off the bookies that he was going to be injured for the game, and someone put an $800,000 bet down. He was going to be out for the game. And it's just one of those things. It's like, I know NBA players aren't known for like their financial wisdom. They're not really tuning into Dave Ramsey, but like $800K, like what are we doing?
well, there wasn't it? They said one of the best players for LA sent a text to another person saying, "Hey, one of our players is injured. Go bet on the other team."
Yeah, it was. I think it was on the Cavs. There was a player who was saying, "Hey, LeBron's going to be injured tonight."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then of course LeBron is like, "Thanks a lot. Now my name's everywhere."
Yeah.
in the indictments. I mean, who knows what's
But
going on
imagine
there.
you're saying, "Hey, go bet on the other team because we're down." LeBron.
Yeah, well, because Pete Rose went down because he was betting on himself. Last time I checked, every teacher told me to bet on myself.
Yeah,
What's
but
the
the thing
problem?
about-
Hey, I bet on myself. It's not a good idea. Don't
Pete
do
Rose,
it.
Pete Rose never bet on himself to lose.
Right.
These guys are betting on themselves to lose, and that's
that's
really
crazy.
That's what's
unconscionable.
egregious. I think they should be
Pete Rose
encouraged to
loved
bet
the
on
game.
themselves.
Yeah, wait. You're not allowed to bet on yourself to win.
Yeah.
No, you're not allowed
Makes you
to
play
bet on
harder.
yourself to win at all. Weren't you saying also
I
you're
rigged
not
the
allowed
game
to
by
bet
winning it.
Well,
at
you
all,
know what?
Right. You're not
right?
supposed to.
You're not
yeah.
supposed to be betting at all if you're a player.
It's true, but I
You
really
shouldn't
wish
be betting at all. Let's just stop there.
I wish Polymark would have had open will George Santos get expelled market at the time. I would have bet on yes. Fuck yeah. I knew I was getting expelled.
Wait, hold on. Are there any rules against that for Polymarket?
At this
think
point,
this
I
guy
don't
cares?
care. Do you really think I cared at that point? I was getting fired. I did care once upon a time.
It was crazy though because Mike Johnson told everyone to bet their conscience, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous.
Which I literally,
At their conscience?
bet their not bet to vote their conscience.
Which
Yeah.
I really had issues with those words because I called him. I'm like, okay, I just voted my conscience in helping rally the caucus to
Right.
make you speaker, and that's how you like. I talk about this a lot. I love Matt Gaetz, and he was so giddy about firing the speaker at the time, McCarthy.
You could tell.
And I looked at him that night
having the
because
best
we
time.
left and went to my office, and I said, I'm glad you're happy you accomplished what you sought out to do, but you do know I'm getting fired next.
Right.
So to me, I wish we would have been speakerless a little longer so I could make my 1 year mark, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like every major sport is rigged. Isn't the NFL rigged? Remember, it was a couple years ago. You guys know better than me because I'm not a sports ball guy. But Ravens, it was the Ravens versus some other team, and there were a bunch of videos going viral of like the guys were intentionally not tackling the other team's quarterback and stuff.
Well, at the expense of getting canceled forever, I mean, that explains 4 Super Bowls for the Buffaloes,
Right.
for the Bills. I mean, in a row and not winning.
I'll just look at Tate because I don't even know what those words mean.
No, it's true. Like, you know how the losing team, they have all their Super Bowl winner championship merch already printed so they can be ready to go?
Yeah.
Well, the Bills lost like 4 Super Bowls in the 90s.
In a row.
Right. So it's like, I think kids in Africa probably think the Bills are like a dynasty.
Or,
Oh, these guys are good.
or Mexico, like, campaign merch goes to Mexico.
It's true.
Is that
Oh,
right?
really?
That's why
man.
you see like all these Obama T-shirts and were coming up. Remember when Laura Loomer did it? Like, you're wearing Obama merch. I'm like, yeah, because that's where it's donated.
Like, America loves female
To be
presidents.
fair,
This is great.
they did have shirts that Biden, please let us in, though. That was a viral thing they were doing.
Well, that was just organized
Right.
NGOs funding
Yeah.
that, just to I guess troll us at that
They
point.
also had "Thank You Biden" shirts.
They did.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were NGOs funding that
Yeah.
with some of
With
the
USAID money.
Yeah,
That,
and
that almost feels like it's pro-Trump. Like, let's get a bunch of people like photos of illegal immigrants saying "Thank you, Biden."
I mean, it worked, didn't it?
Really hurt his campaign.
Hey,
Well,
you know
it
what?
was in 2020. Like
This was 2020. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I guess it worked for him.
Yeah. I mean, it
Everything's fake. Can we just all agree everything's fake and gay?
It certainly feels, there's been in America, there's been this sort of reorientation of the American sports fan towards college sports. And I think it's because they view it as like a more raw, purified version of sport, because at the pro level, there's just so much shenanigans going. Even there's like been scandals with refs where, for example, in soccer, the refs are actually typically the ones getting busted for match fixing.
oh yeah.
And even in American sports, there's been a few probes into various refs in
Well,
the NBA specifically.
FIFA has a lot of issues with refs that get paid to call the worst freaking cards.
FIFA wouldn't take a bribe.
Oh, I think baseball's fixed.
Yeah.
Because we went and saw the Nats versus the Sox, and there were several blatantly bad calls by the ump that everyone was confused by, and everyone's booing. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, look, if you want to maximize the amount of games you play to sell more tickets, to sell more hot dogs, you need to control the outcome of the game. And there's tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on the line for a lot of these games. Why wouldn't they just say, hey, just let them win this one, however you can. And you can't absolutely control the outcome, but you can, change the direction of your sales, as it were.
I mean, umps are not the funnest people. And have you seen a Little League game?
Oh,
They make the worst calls.
It's
in
like that
Little
type of
League games.
phenotype either becomes Little League ump or like HOA balls.
Yeah.
Like one of those things. That's how it always goes. Another thing you'll
That's the
notice,
male Karen version in suburban
true.
America.
It's true. It's very true. Another thing you'll notice in the NBA specifically is the players are very well aware of the money line.
Yeah.
So when they're coming down to the wire, typically if you're down like 6 or 8 points, you're going to be shooting because you're like, I don't know, maybe we hit 2 or 3 threes back to back with 10 seconds to go. Like Reggie Miller's done it before. But now, if they're right at the money line, right under the money line, they will not take any shots in the last like 30 seconds because they don't want to tick over and ruin bets for presumably their friends at best. That'd be the most crucial. And this is like pretty wide in the open. So
Let's jump to this story from Timcast News. Trump is coming. Stephen A. Smith suggests today's FBI press conference announcing widespread arrests amid their investigation into illegal gambling was politically motivated and timed to negatively impact the NBA. Because we all know Trump's biggest enemy and rival this whole time has been the NBA, I guess. But the Democrats are always going to find some reason to make it about Trump.
How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. I'm going to say it on national television again. Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you hearing ICE is going to be there, looking to engage in mass deportations. The Super Bowl, disrupting things. Big night for the NBA. Wembanyama put on a show. That has now been smeared. because we're talking about this story, okay? Remember, Trump has a long, long history connected to the world of sports because he had those casinos. Where do you think folks were coming half the time? I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the culture. When people want to go to a casino, when people want to gamble, when people want to party, or whatever the case may be, this was his kind of connection to that. Why am I glad you're here, Monica? Because don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list. Because when you've got all of these protests that have been going out
Should
there.
be
Okay,
so
okay.
lucky.
Right.
Yeah,
Bet $20. I mean,
This is where Stephen A. Smith jumps the shark. He was viewed by many as a moderate Democrat personality. Maybe he could fix the orientation of the Democratic Party. But now he's doing exactly what everyone expects of Democrats. A bad thing happened. Trump did it, I guess.
The other thing
But
that
they're
he-
just beyond rescue at this point. I mean, the Democrats are beyond rescue. If you think this idiot's going to rescue the Democrat Party, good. It's like, please put all your chips on this idiot who's a tool. And Trump's coming. Like I almost feel like you better watch out.
Right.
You better not shout. Like, what the hell?
he's
Like,
literally the boogeyman to them.
Like-
but what they totally forget is that
I stubbed my toe earlier, and it was Trump.
I'm sure it was Trump.
Yeah.
It was Trump because it rhymes with bump, and you stubbed your toe.
I was watching. I wasn't paying attention to where I was going because I was watching a video of Trump. It made me so angry. I
Yeah.
stubbed my toe.
Well, the thing is, though, Trump loves the bread and circus, right? I mean, he loves a big spectacle. He likes big sporting events because everyone goes and looks at them and then they're happy. I mean, that's what, that's like a big part of, he's like a little bit Roman in that respect. He's going to build a giant arch. He's building a ballroom. He likes big, giant things for
he's
everybody.
destroying the White House, according to them.
Well, what's crazy? I saw a tweet.
Well, the
I
whole
didn't check
East
it
Wing's
out.
gone now, right?
I didn't. Yeah, the East, that
It's
little
all gone.
section.
No, not that little section. That whole East Wing.
I
Well, they're
really
going to
hope.
replace it with something way better.
I really hope he just names it the Trump Annex. I mean, I really do. Because I want it to live enshrined in the minds of
Forever.
every Democrat that will ever come after Trump. There is the Trump Annex to the White House.
I saw a tweet, and I did not look into it, but it said that Bernie Sanders and Nancy Pelosi are both older than the East Wing that was just
That's correct.
demolished.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. Like, it's not that historic. Plus, every single president comes in and makes all kinds of changes.
Rose
Barack
Garden,
Obama
the
made all
pool.
kinds
Yeah.
of changes. He put in like a basketball court and moved tennis courts to somewhere else. They all come in and make changes.
he removed
That's
the tennis
part
court.
of it, right? And but that's part of it. Is like you're a steward of the White House. You make it better for the time that you're there. Like make it better for history. And I hope that Donald Trump does put up that giant arch in Washington D.C. And I hope that it's gold.
I hope that the White House extension is gold.
Yeah, make it all gold.
Gold and pink marble. Trump Tower.
kind of like what Stephen A. is talking. I mean, Trump loves like a spectacle because he goes big. That's why he embodies America so well. Because Americans, I love this description of Americans is that we're all just temporarily embarrassed millionaires. And that's why he's relatable. Like people relate more with Donald Trump than like when DeSantis puts on cowboy boots or whatever. It's like, no, I like that guy because he's rich and famous and knows like famous people and is awesome. It's like, yeah, that's why we like him. And like for the record, the World Cup's coming to the United States. That's because of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because he wants everything here. He wants America to be number one. And it's like, yeah, make the world come here and watch.
He's an entertainer. That's why he became president, and that's why people love him. And I know at the risk of getting in trouble, and that's why he's won 3 presidential elections.
Really?
George, did you have any correspondence with him while you were locked up?
Oh, sure. I called him on his cell. It was really
I don't
cool.
know.
No.
Letters, because I know there were people lobbying on your behalf, like
Jesus
Marjorie
Christ.
Taylor Greene.
I want to
I
see
wish.
the president getting like.
Yeah, I mean, like, can you imagine? This call is from a federal correction facility. To accept this call, press 5, and it's the White House
The
switchboard.
call was
will be
talking about
recorded.
pardoning Diddy,
Yeah.
so I mean, why would that be
No,
out of the
Did you know he was going to commute your sentence?
I did not. So it's wild. I mean, look, you're right. A lot of people did advocate. I have a lot of friends who went to bat.
It didn't feel like that many, like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
It was
or
a
at
lot.
least of elected officials.
I mean, of elected officials, there was a lot of them behind the scenes because it's politics, so people do take precautions. But of the ones who were very public about it, I mean, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have Tim Burchett, you have Lauren Boebert, Anna Paulina Luna, and then you also have people like Rick Grinnell and Alice Johnson, and then you have Matt Gaetz, who's a former congressman. So like there was a lot of people in the front line, but way more in the back end. But it was like an effort. But really, my family, my spouse, my sister, my attorney was absolutely like relentless. I mean, if you all need an attorney, get my attorney. He goes to bat for you. But most importantly is like I didn't know I was actually filling out my commissary sheet for the week. And then it came on the TV, and that's how I found out.
You found out on TV.
Oh yeah, on MSNBC.
Were you like, were you in solitary or were you with other people?
Oh no, I had just been released from solitary a couple of days before and reintegrated into the camp.
Did everybody just like look at you?
No, they started screaming like, "Bring him here! That SOB's been holding out on us. Come over here!" I'm like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" I'm like, and I look at MSNBC. Chiron said something along like, "Disgraced New York Republican George Santos coming out of jail. Trump commuted his sentence." I'm like, MSNBC's clearly lost their proverbial shit.
Sure.
Because so I pick up the phone, I go to the phones, I call home. I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, my partner goes like, "I'm on my way to pick you up. I just spoke to the president." I'm like, "Wait, you spoke to the president? I've never spoken to the president on the phone." I was like angry at that at first, and I just lost. I started crying.
I think this is a really good sign that Trump is done playing stupid games.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
Because he tried to be very diplomatic in his first term. The fact that he did not wait until the end of his second term, he was literally just like, "I don't care, just get him out of jail." He's just like, we're doing this.
Do you know what? Here's what I look at it. After what Biden did, I think he
Oh, yeah.
It's, you know what? Quite frankly, fuck you. Like anybody who's like clutching pearls, I've gone every cable news network from Chris Cuomo, I mean, barely cable for News Nation, but I did Chris Cuomo to everyone else, and they're all going nuts. Like, "You should be ashamed." I'm like, wait, I should be ashamed for receiving clemency? I thought the United States was all about second chances, but only for Hunter Biden, you know? So.
Oh, second? Seventh?
Third, eighth, I don't know, whatever. I mean, look, I'm thankful, obviously, and to say it's humbling, it's crazy, but it was definitely a surprise. I did not know. If I knew, trust me, I would totally.
So,
Did you have correspondence?
real quick, do you think you deserved it was 7.5 years?
7 years and 3 months.
3 months.
For essentially a campaign finance indictment. If you look at all the elements of it, it was all campaign related from 2022, from my successful run for Congress, not my first one. And no, I mean, Jesse Jackson Jr. went to prison for 30 months and he took 3 or 4 times, but he stole outright from the taxpayer.
You put money.
I put money towards, and then obviously there was misappropriation, but the crazy part is I was the largest benefactor of my campaign because I put $700,000 of my own money in there. And then,
so just real quick, what's your backstory as to how you were able to do it? You run a business, or
I mean, look, it's out in the public. I mean, I've always been in the high assets market with private equity, so working with a lot of high net worth individuals and family offices. So I had a career in private equity for 10 years. Right before the campaign, I mean, I sold a $22 million yacht with a waterfall, one of 2, a Mangusta, beautiful Italian.
I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. I know there were like allegations of you working at like Goldman Sachs and Citibank. Did you work at these places?
I didn't work. So that's a bigger part. I didn't work for them, but I did do work with them. And that was just more, that was literally more of an embellishing a resume for the sake of making it look better. But I never worked at the institutions. That was definitely not true. But I have worked in the private equity space since 2014. So it's like 11 years in the space. So like the reality is I made money. That's clear. I mean, you don't just, people like to say, "Oh, those are probably stolen from campaign donors." I'm like, dude, you guys must really think my entire life was a grift.
why would you want to be in office?
It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. I mean, I did it because I really thought you can change things from the inside. When I got there, I'm like, "Oh, this is a zoo.
Yeah.
This is theater, like literally theater." I mean, I took 3 months before going to Congress, I made $800,000. And then I subjected myself to $174,000 a year.
Do you have any remorse for your crimes?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Are you kidding? Like, stupidest thing a human being can do is, first of all, I didn't need to do any of it. I didn't. I genuinely didn't need to.
Probably could have
already
been
rich.
Zimmerman.
I would have
otherwise.
Zimmerman. I would have. I was going to say something so bad. Anyway, I could have curb
Save
stomped.
it for 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I would have curb stomped Zimmerman 10 ways from Tuesdays with my freaking eyes closed because I was running against a senile candidate who was like 68 years old, fourth run for Congress, if I'm not mistaken. I was 34 years old. I was running circles around him. Like, he was frail and old and just but I regret it because I didn't need to do it, but my ambition and my insecurities took over. I was also fending off a primary opponent or a potential primary, everything just was like dumb and self-inflicted. And if I could go backwards and do it again, I would do it so differently because people like to say, oh, he's only sorry because he got caught. That's not true. I'm sorry because it was stupid. I caused a lot of pain, hurt, and disappointment to a lot of good people that I genuinely like, that I'm probably never going to be able to square away those relationships. And I had a potential at a really good career ahead of me, and I blew it up, and it was dumb. And, I have to live with it. And
not to mention the district that you were representing, New York's 3rd. It's like a flip district, a purple district that you're turning red. Long Island, one of these important districts on a super slim majority that the House had.
No, I was part of giving the House a majority because they messed up all over the country, but then New York saved the majority.
It became crucial. Yeah. And, you were one of the supporting votes for Johnson, who I think was struggling to get the speakership at the time.
I was one of the ringleaders to create the consensus. The consensus was created. Nobody likes to talk about the facts here. The consensus for Mike Johnson, for Speaker Johnson, was created by me, Lauren Boebert, and Matt Gaetz. I don't care what anybody says. Speaker Johnson was just Congressman Johnson. We were going through Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise, Tom Emmer, and nobody would get a consensus. Oh, you did this or you did that. And there was like the tribes, right? The families, as we call them in the conference. I went up to Johnson right off the bat and I said, you need to jump in. He's like, oh, I can't do this. I said, dude, you're the only person in the conference everybody likes. Like nobody has quarrels with you. And he's like, I can't do this. I look up to Jim and to Steve. They're like big brothers to me. I'm like, sure, Mike, but you need to do it. So I insisted. After it all went to crap with Mike Johnson's, with what's his name? Jim Jordan's 3 votes on the floor. He texts me, I guess, like 2 or 3 days later in the morning after we recess and go home. He's like, George, I appreciate all the encouragement or something along those lines. I appreciate all the encouragement. I've decided to throw my hat in the ring. Do I still have your support? I literally goes like, let's effing go. I call Lauren Boebert. I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning because I'm that guy. Like I have the energy I'm up. So I'm like, she's like, what happened? Who died? I'm like, nobody died. Mike's in. She starts screaming on the other line, and that was off to the races.
Do you resent Johnson, the Speaker Johnson, after everything that passed? No,
not at all. No, you know what? I did for a while because I was feeding into the hatred inside of me that was really poisonous. And I did say some things that I completely regret and take back. And I've told him that very much personally and publicly. I've spoken about it. I think Mike Johnson did what he thought was the right thing to do, is to let people vote their conscience. And people thought in their conscience that, they were so self-important that they were perfect and I had to go. And here I am.
I can respect it, but I'm a little disappointed. We were talking about this just a moment ago, the lack of unity. Matt Walsh has been on the receiving end of heavy criticism for the past several weeks because he said he's willing to unite with anyone on the right to defeat the evil on the left. And he said this after Charlie was killed and everyone praised him. He said it again after these group chats got leaked and now he's getting flack. And I'm just sitting here being like, okay, I hear you, moderate conservative Republicans, that you don't want to unite with, say, Nick Fuentes or whoever. But when George Santos was in Congress, all of these same people, not literally all of them, but a bunch of conservatives are like, nah, fire him. And I'm like, they have Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and these other people who say awful things and are very, very bad, and they unify no matter what.
No, it's true. It's no matter what. I mean, look, they're backing Jay Jones in Virginia. They're backing that guy with the Nazi tattoo in Maine.
The accidental Nazi tattoo that's covered up with dogs now. Yes. Like, dude, you put dogs over the Nazi tattoo. Like, you're a really bad dude.
Okay,
poor dog.
Let's just lay that out. Jay Jones said he wanted his rival's children to be murdered.
Yes.
And if he had the option, it was that famous. It's what do you say? Hitler, Pol Pot, and the Republican speaker. And I had 2 bullets. He said that he would shoot the Republican twice. And he lost only 3 points in the polls.
Spanberger still backs him. The ACLU sent out paid for mailers that went out. And the ACLU doesn't even endorse.
And you pointed out Johnson said vote your conscience when it came to you. And I'm like, listen, if I have to sit here and compare what you're accused of doing to the guy who called for the murder of his rival's children, I'll take the campaign finance violation guy.
Well, and the other thing, too, is the Democrats, like you were saying, they always unify. If they don't care who they're unifying around, they will back anybody so long as they're part of their tribe. And then all of a sudden...
Cult.
Yes.
Tribe. We have a tribe. They have a cult.
Right. They have a cult.
But they're
I like this guy.
But they're like looking at a mirror, so they're like, "Oh, cultist, cultist." I'm like, I know. You're looking at your reflection.
But it's crazy. And now we have people doing all this infighting among the conservative side. And it's like, guys, they have guns. Like, they're killing our guys. They killed Charlie,
They killed children.
They
in
killed
Christian
children.
schools.
They're doing all of this stuff. And we're just like, yeah, but,
Well,
a bunch of kids said some goofy stuff on a text.
I'll say this about the kids in the schools. I'm going to try to steel man as much as I can, because when you go that direction, they'll then try and claim that white supremacists are right wing. So I say, okay, well, hold on. The alleged assassin in the killing of Charlie Kirk, the ideology is identical to Ocasio-Cortez, who went on the House floor and smeared Charlie Kirk's good name, not even like a week after he was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The concern that I have is that the No Kings protesters on the street saying kill ICE agents, the far left and liberals who are shooting up Tesla, it is the exact same ideology as the mainstream Democratic Party. Now, when they say the right has their extremists, no, hold on there, gosh darn minute. There is no moderate conservative with an extremist ideology. It doesn't exist. If you come to me and you say, why don't you condemn the evil white supremacists? Done. Literally everybody does. Charlie does. Trump does. Everybody. But when it comes to the far left extremists, they say, sure, it was bad, but he was right ideologically.
But they also, in their studies, they say that jihad is right wing.
Oh, yeah. Anti-government is right wing.
Yeah, anti-government is right wing. And they don't include Tesla dealerships. They say that's economic crime.
They say that the riots,
terrorism.
the BLM riots, wasn't left wing.
Right.
Left
because
is only when they're
ethno
Marxists.
nationalist or something. Yeah.
Right.
So they're very specific about what they classify as left-wing violence
but they
because they don't want to.
cherry-pick.
Yes, exactly.
They get to cherry pick. We don't. Like they pigeonhole us to their narrative. But when we try to do the same back, no, that's not. It's like when the transgender dude in what was that, Ohio or no, the one from 2023 that went into the Christian school,
Nashville, the Covenant.
Was that Nashville?
Covenant Presbyterian.
There you go. So
that was a girl.
Audrey Hale.
Was it?
Audrey
It was a
Hale.
trans person
Yes.
who was completely out of their rocker, like. 99% of trans people who are like, oh my God, please accept me, who I couldn't accept the genitalia I was freaking born with, goes in there, kills kids, and they actually not a word comes out of their mouths. That drives me absolutely insane.
Well, it's not just that not a word came out of their mouths. They were defending her. They were saying, oh, it's so hard to be trans.
Yeah, so you're going to justify murder? It's like, look, as a gay man, it stresses me out because I am being put with these people who clearly have a mental health disorder that I do not do. I might be crazy in my own terms, but it has nothing to do with my sexual orientation, right? These people literally fight their own body because they're so sick and we're not treating them.
Also, if you look at like statistics of, homosexuality, that pretty much stays static throughout the years. Throughout the decades.
Trans goes up and down.
Trans goes up and down. Because
it's a fad.
Because it's a fad.
It's like, I remember when I was in high
It's
school.
a social contagion.
When I was in high school, I remember this year, all the girls went lesbian. Every single girl. I'm older than you.
Maybe the guys were just chopped that year.
No, it was just really bad. All the girls are like dating each other. All of them are now married with kids and children. I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess it was a fad.
Is TikTok.
There was a 4-year lesbian thing when I was in college. It was like
my point, so it's just like, I think this is it. But the problem with this, it's so demonic and dangerous. Like, I literally see these videos of little boys with their mothers and like getting injections,
These are the
hormone
worst
blockers.
mothers
I'm like,
ever.
it is demonic. Tim Burchett shared one the other day, and he literally quipped it demonic. I was like,
Yeah.
I had goosebumps watching.
And the Charlie Kirk assassination happened so quickly after the shooting of the Catholic children
in Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis that people almost memory hold it. But if you take a look at the illustrations in that man's journal, you will see that his self-portrait is that of Baphomet. He sees himself as a demon, and he was clearly possessed.
I will say the last shooting victim came home from the hospital today. The 12-year-old girl who was shot in the head and they had to remove part of her skull. She came home.
Yeah,
it's a long road to recovery, but it seems like a little bit of a miracle going
It's actually good news.
It's really good news.
Yeah, amen.
Let's jump to the story from the Daily Mail. Chilling messages reveal how mafia henchmen allegedly threatened and attacked victims of their rigged NBA poker games. This is it's a crazy story. It's like out of an action movie. It's just nuts. The FBI claims it uncovered a decades-long mafia-led poker ring. The alleged scheme involved professional athletes, including Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups, being used as, quote, face cards to attract victims to the table where high-tech methods were used by the mafia to rig the games, says the indictment. And I am proud to say, for the loyal viewers of Timcast, you would not have been fleeced by this because we talked about this 2 years ago. 2 years ago. In one instance, Zhen Hu, 37 from Brooklyn, sent chilling messages to an alleged victim of the ring, identified as John Doe 5 for not paying up. Yeah, you not gonna pay me? Hu asked in a message on November 5th, which he swiftly followed by sending another message, all right, bet. Is that him right there?
So I guess the do mob enforcers are Asian now. That's actually interesting.
Is it Asian mafia? He says, watch what's good now. You've been running your mouth unchecked, he warned. In the days that followed, the indictment claims Hu is said to have made good on his threat when he allegedly assaulted Doe 5. Quote, I punched somebody in the face the other day. Ish unraveling quick, he told the unnamed recipient. Now, we've got this video right here from Timcast News. This is Solve for Why. This is, I believe this is Matt Berkey on his podcast talking about, he's a pro poker player, talking about how these games were run and what they found. Listen to this.
There are a lot of stories about it. There's one that cropped up. This must have been like 5 years ago, 2019-ish, I think, 4 years ago, where there was this game. It started in LA and then it came to Vegas for a few days, and it was all built around Chauncey Billups. And I had heard about the game, and the person who told me about it was like, look, I know the game runners. I'm telling you 100% this game is on the up and up. And I was like, well, I know a lot of the people that are involved, and I'm telling you 100% that it is not on the up and up. Yeah. And we kind of went back and forth, and I agreed that like I just wasn't going to go play it, but I had some friends who went and played it both in LA and in Vegas, and it obviously like was for sure confirmed to be cheated. Mm-hmm. Like people who clearly didn't even understand the rules of No Limit Hold'em are just like jamming hundreds of big blinds in with like a gutty. And then just drilling it. Yeah. Only the pros are losing. Like,
how is it figured out? Like, it just.
So that's the gist of it. Where we're getting this story, they'd invite people in, and I'll translate a little bit what he said when he said hundreds of big blinds. Just he's saying lots of money, and a gutty is a very unlikely probability to win. He was saying people who didn't know what they were doing were playing ridiculous bets, and they were defeating all the pros. The New York Times says that what they would do is this is wild. What is it? High-tech, sophisticated technology, like from the movie Ocean's 13. The machine that shuffled the cards was not just randomly mixing them up. It had technology hidden inside that could read the cards in the deck, predict which player had the best hand, and relay that information to somebody off-site. That person would then use a cell phone to communicate the intel to someone at the table who would steer the other cheating players with secret signals like tapping certain chips or body parts. In some of the rigged games, the poker chip trays had hidden cameras that could read the cards on the table. That one doesn't seem to make sense to me, but we can speculate, I guess. The cards also sometimes had markings that were visible only to people wearing specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. I will stress, we have those playing cards.
Really?
Yeah, they're marked with, on the back of each card is a very big number that can only be seen if you're wearing UV glasses or contact lenses. We have them as a gag because we are filming a comedy bit or something. But legit, the sunglasses are purple. You put them on. Everything looks purple, and the back of every playing card looks just like this. You'll see a big purple number. So you'll know exactly what they have.
I would love a deck like that at blackjack.
Wouldn't people be tipped off, though, if people are wearing the glasses?
Not if they're
the contact
rubes,
lenses are
right?
Undetectable.
But like if they're purple.
Yeah, they're purple.
Well,
so how do you not tell?
Because people don't know to look for these things.
Oh,
and a lot of poker players wear sunglasses when they're playing. It's very common.
They wear the sunglasses
well, beyond that,
for the poker face.
Purple lens. Yeah.
Today on the Culture War, we had Doug Polk, obviously the legendary poker player, and he's like, in my entire career, I've never played a house game because he's like, there's just too many like spots to look out for.
I got to challenge him though, because I watched the interview you did with Doug Polk. Shout out to Doug Polk. He's probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous players right now, because he's got a big YouTube presence. And but he said if you're playing a home game, which is like a private game, which is very, very common, and you see a shuffle machine, you should be worried. It's incorrect. If you see a Deckmate 2 shuffle machine, because those have cameras inside of them, this is a security feature. Actually, so you can tell if someone's adding cards or changing the structure of the deck. It'll warn you and it'll spit the deck back out. But hackers figured out 2 years ago how to plug something into the USB or Ethernet port, and that camera it tracks the position of every card, and then it sends once the deck is shuffled, it sends it out to a random person. It can send it out to any person they want through Bluetooth. And then we talked about this a couple years ago when it happened on Timcast IRL. Researchers in Vegas at DEF CON, the hacker convention, said they figured this out. And a bunch of commenters and people were saying, but they still cut the deck. That doesn't change the order of the cards. It changes the order of 2 cards.
It's true.
So long as anybody who has access to the deck information from the hacked machine, when they see the first visible cards that come out on the board, it's called the flop, they know what card everyone has. And if you're in hand, meaning like you've got cards, you're playing the game, and you're wearing headphones, you can look down at your cards. You can easily relay that information in a million different ways, and then your person who's sitting a table over can tell you if you're going to win or not. Here's what gets crazy about this is they didn't need to do it. This is what I don't understand about this story. It sounds like, I'll put it like this. I bet if you went to Matt Berkey or Doug Polk and said, you want to rip off a bunch of morons at a high-stakes game with Chauncey Billups and other pro athletes, how would you do it? They'd be like, we'd invite Fish to come play poker. Like, we're going to crush them. There's nothing they can do. It sounds like the mob was like, let's cheat them because they didn't know how to play poker. I feel like you go to anybody who knows how to play poker and they're going to be like, oh, we'll run a game at the table. You get 2 players, play on a team, and you basically just, you can play. I'll try to keep the example really simple, but 2 players at one table can do a handful of things from very, very technically above board to super illicit. There was a cheating ring at MGM National Harbor. This is what I was told by the people who worked there. It was 3 guys. They'd play at one table, and they had a way to tap information about the cards they had to each other. So a guy looks down at his hand, and he sees a hand that's very bad. Let's say ace 7 offsuit. Like, yeah, you got an ace. That's pretty good. But you're not suited. You can't do any of the 7, and you're facing a race. You don't want to play it. However, he wants to let his buddy know he's folding an ace, so he would tap a chip. There's a lot easier ways to cheat than using high-tech RFID scanner tables and hidden cameras and all sorts of nonsense. And additionally, the crazy thing is, you don't need to cheat. It's very common in Vegas. They'll invite Chinese millionaires and billionaires to play these games where they know they're going to win and the Chinese millionaires and billionaires are going to lose. But these Chinese, like these guys from Macau, they're like, I literally don't care if I lose $5 million.
Yo, Macau is
why?
They don't care.
Don't they care? How did they get so rich?
They just have so much money. I mean, Macau is just nuts. I played blackjack in Macau on a trip to Asia, a business trip, and it's scary.
Really?
It's like it's very intimidating. I only play blackjack, for instance, in high limit rooms because it's hand shuffled. I will not play. You're talking about machines. I just don't feel comfortable because the machines can line up the cards, like you just said. I just don't feel comfortable playing.
Only there's specific machines that can. I don't know if the Deckmate 1 can.
I'm not interested in a machine shuffle at all. I will not play.
Oh, bro, don't play hand shuffle.
I only play hand shuffle, and it works.
That's
for me.
the easiest to rig, bro. Even I can card track
so well for me.
I mean, if you're at a casino, you got nothing to worry about hand shuffle or otherwise.
Yeah.
But if you're playing anything private,
oh yeah, no, that's just
anything private.
Not my cup of tea.
This is what I was saying about what Doug. I would suggest if you're playing private, you want to see a Deckmate 1. It just literally says Deckmate on it, because those, as far as we know, can't really be manipulated. There's no internal camera to track which card's going where. Deckmate 2 is a camera, and bro, card tracking, like. When you watch Penn and Teller's Fool Me or whatever, and you've got people pulling card tricks, it's not magic. They're not doing illusions.
They're tracking cards, yeah.
It's literally, there's 52 cards. It's extremely easy to memorize where one card is going to end up when you cut the deck perfectly in the middle and then count to where it was. And there's a guy that I follow on Instagram. He's one of the best, if not the best in the world. I think you pronounce his name Jason Ledaney. I recommend you guys check out his videos. This guy is a MasterCard tracker. And people think it's an illusion, a sleight of hand, or a magic trick. I'm not going to try and speak for him because I don't know exactly how he does all of the tricks. Some of it is. But I'm fairly certain this guy literally just knows the position of every card. He's been doing it for decades. You hire this guy to deal for you. Not him because he's a performer. But there are people who can do this. You sit down at one of these games. I'm like, they don't need machines to do this. They could have literally got a magician to deal out hands. They don't need a machine, and you can never trace it. You can't prove somebody was a magician.
So why do you think they did all this?
Because the mafia didn't understand poker. Right? So,
it's wild that the mafia is still there, you know?
I'm actually shocked to see, like, Gambino.
La Cosa Nostra,
I mean, Gambino.
Well,
we
printed on it. The classics.
Like these are the classics. These are old names.
Yeah.
Who did we have on the show? Francesi, is that his name? Mm-hmm. Probably pronouncing his name wrong.
Actually, sounds like a decently pronunciated.
But he was saying the mob never went anywhere. They're just lying low. They don't want to get. They want to do business.
It was a mistake when they were all
high profile.
Like John Gotti, high profile, all that stuff.
I mean, the
Lucchese's
and the Persicos and all of them. I mean, but it's crazy. Like,
well, The Godfather made it all so cool, you know,
and too much exposure.
Right.
But reading that and seeing their names was nuts to me.
Let me throw this in there. There's actually two regular chats that I think are really, really good. One is about gambling. One's about JB Pritzker, which I definitely want to talk about in this context. Mm-hmm. But someone said, Tim, explain how playing poker for money isn't gambling. Depends on your definition of gambling. Is it stock market gambling? We hear that all the time. But the issue is this. If you enter a fishing tournament, are you gambling? Technically, in some instances, according to the IRS, it is gambling. Yep. But you might be saying like, whoa, hold on. What do you mean? I'm good at fishing. I paid $100 to enter the tournament. All I got to do now is catch a bigger and more fish than the other guy, and I win. And then the IRS says, can you control how many fish are in the water? No. Can you control the size of the fish you catch? No. Can you control how much money will be put in the pot that will be paid out for the tournament? No. So you actually can't control all these circumstances. That's actually legally gambling in a lot of circumstances. Gambling winnings, whether it be blackjack or tournaments, falls into the same category, which is, I think it's called W2G or something like this. So the question around poker has longly been debated because poker is considered social poker, like Texas Hold'em, PLO, high-low, pineapple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're considered to be skill games. I'll put it this way. If you want to play a game of war with somebody, everyone gets one card and whoever has the high card wins. Okay, that's gambling.
Yep.
If you want to play blackjack, you don't know what you're going to get, you're gambling. You want to play a game of PLO against me? I guarantee you most people listening are like, I don't know what PLO is. How can you win a game you don't know how to play against another person? It's a completely a skill game. Then the question is, it's called Pot Limit Omaha. You want to play a game of Pot Limit Omaha against me, heads up, what's the best hand? What cards are you looking for that you're going to wager your money on? You don't actually know? Okay, it's a skill game. And so professionals in Texas Hold'em, which is substantially more popular, they know almost all of the math for the cards that you get and the position you're in and the likelihood you're going to win, and that's the game they're playing. Several studies have been done that found around 80% of all winning hands are not the game-winning hand. It was the play of the player. That being said, because I definitely want to answer that, someone brought up JB Pritzker, so I definitely want to talk about JB Pritzker. You guys heard?
Was this 1.4 million on blackjack?
1.4. No, not on blackjack. He never said.
He
didn't say. No, he didn't. He said cards.
Just cards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He said cards because he's clever.
But it was one trip. Right?
One trip, and he won $1.4 million. Okay, so let's talk about how J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, somehow made 14% of his yearly income in one weekend in Vegas. I'm sorry, man. I am a card player, okay? I play blackjack. I don't play 3-card poker. It's a terrible game with miserable odds. I like Mississippi, Cajun, for those that don't know. I like Texas Hold'em. I like playing some PLO sometimes. I play cards. And I'm going to tell you right now, I call shenanigans on this Pritzker making $1.4 million when his income was reported at $10 million, okay?
The Times said it was blackjack.
So let's look at his actual video.
He didn't actually say it.
I'm pretty sure his quote was, I went to Vegas and got lucky on cards.
I've gotten lucky on cards, not 1.4 million, and I played pretty aggressively in the past.
So we can say a few things.
I got to take JB to play blackjack.
Hold on. Yeah. So my understanding is homie's a billionaire, right?
Yeah, he's a rich man.
It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible that he went to Vegas. He's worth a ridiculous amount of money, and he said, I'm going to take out $10 million to play with. Entirely possible, right? You see reported winnings of $1.4 million. Why? Maybe he lost $3 million. won 1.4 back, and he doesn't want to tell people. I got to be honest, if you're running for office, there's a lot of members of Congress who play poker. And whenever I ask them if, like, would you want to play a game, maybe go on stream, like, no, I couldn't do that. Because it makes you look bad for re-election.
The number one cardinal rule of office is do not show people your means and your ability to go play a game and lose tens of thousands of dollars.
Indeed.
When people can't even equate sometimes the summation of $100,000 to make their bills.
You're asking, and you're saying, I need you to donate to me.
Yeah, and I need your vote, and can you send me $5?
So
it's not a good look.
Yeah, the asking for money when you can afford to lose thousands.
I got that thrown at me a lot when I was running, because I did give my campaign $700,000. And a lot of people, like, the grassroots people, they'd be like, well, if you gave yourself that much money, why do you need my $5? It's a very, it's a tight rope. You're like, because it's not enough and I don't have any more. Or, well, if you gave 700, that means you can put more. Like, There's this dichotomy to it. So the last thing you want, and you're right on the money, the last thing J.B. Pritzker wants is to go and say, well, this wasn't actually a winning. I actually lost $1.6 million.
So actually, you can look at it this way too. Here's what I think: the most ideal situation for J.B. Pritzker would be to say, those are recorded winnings. My recorded losses were also around 1.4 million. I actually only ended up with an extra $100. So what happens in any kind of gaming is if I bet $100 on blackjack and then I win $100 and now I have two, then I make another bet and lose. My winnings are 100, my losings are 100, and I've made $0. The ideal circumstance for Pritzker would be to come out and say, it's actually a break-even game. Winnings are reported, but losses were also reported. The only thing is, that wasn't what it was. He came out on top. He doesn't want to come out and say, I pulled $10 million out of the bank, screwed around, willing to risk $10 million, and then ended up just coming out, with another $1 million.
While Chicago burns.
Chicago
and it's like
burns.
you were just saying, most people cannot fathom $10 million.
But I want to say something else, because I'm pretty sure he wasn't playing blackjack, but I could be wrong. Do you want to try and look up what he actually said in the interview, the full quote?
Yeah, I'm just seeing where the Times said blackjack, but they don't have it in quotes.
Because he said he's a card player, and that's why he does poker games. So when someone says I got lucky in cards, I think poker, not blackjack. Although some people were saying blackjack, maybe that's we got to pull up his quote. Let me get this. What was?
I see anybody who's played cards in a casino knows that you often play for too long and lose whatever it is that you won. I was fortunate enough to have to leave before that happened.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Man of the people.
So contrived.
Yeah.
Okay, quote. He said, I went on vacation with my wife with some friends. I was incredibly lucky. You have to be to end up ahead. Frankly, going to a casino anywhere. It was in Las Vegas, and I like to play cards. I've made this point 1,000,001 times. So for all the people out there who are like, Tim, we don't care about poker, you're now all of a sudden going, hey, wait a minute. Hold on there a minute. Wasn't Tim talking about this like 6 months ago? Somebody wants to bribe a politician, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the lobbyist goes to a poker game at a casino with a no max, means there's no maximum buy-in, and he says, I want to play $100,000. The recipient, say they're running a super PAC or a member of Congress or something like that, says, I too will play a high-stakes game with tens of thousands of dollars. Briber says, I'm going to bet $15,000 on these two really good cards. Recipient then says, oh yeah, I'm all in. The guy with the bribe now has a choice. He can match the amount of money this guy raised.
Or fold.
And so he's trying to bribe him. So he goes, rats, I was bluffing. You win. Throws his cards into the muck. Nobody can see what he had. And the dealer will shuffle the $15,000 over to the person receiving the bribe. And then when the person who got the bribe is asked, where'd you get it? He says, got lucky playing cards in Vegas one weekend.
Oh, that's
Thank you for
crazy.
teaching people how to take bribes now.
Yeah.
Great. Now we
Wins millions of dollars in a weekend. So Pritzker may just be a billionaire who pulled out $20 million.
He has an infinite amount of money, compared to most people. The struggle here for me is I've played blackjack pretty aggressively in my life. I mean, to a detriment even of, and I agree with him. If you don't know when to stop, you will give everything back. You're gonna have the luckiest night ever. You will give every penny back. It's happened. I mean, I've been up hundreds of thousands of dollars only to turn around and leave at a loss. And again, starting with like 10 grand and just getting really lucky, playing for hours. The longest I've sat at a blackjack table was 16 hours, which is psychotic.
Gambling is degenerate. It is a sin.
Oh, God.
All of these fraud stories should exemplify should exemplify why you shouldn't gamble. Gambling in these casinos and sports betting, it acts as a regressive tax on the poorest in our societies. There's a saying that the casino always wins, and it's true because the
house always wins.
Yeah, the house always wins, and it's because they have an edge over you. And you should abstain from sin when possible.
I agree. Now define gambling.
So there's a spectrum to it, right? If you're gambling with, like, say, fishing is your example, or like Pokemon cards, and buying Pokemon cards is gambling.
It's actually easily definable.
I think if
I'm
you're
not asking to play a trick question. Gambling is when you enter in a game of chance for which you can't control the outcome.
Yeah, so if you're betting
But it's
your house...
fun. Do you ever have fun, though? That's the question. Like, I don't think you have a lot of fun. You got to have fun.
No, I think poor people struggle, and then they go to casinos because they think it's easy
But
cash,
that's
but they end up
different.
losing more money.
But that's
more
different.
often than not.
No,
that's
I
the case.
understand,
You
but
are incorrect.
In what part?
The majority of people who are going to casinos aren't thinking they're going to hit it rich. Some people do, and they've got an addiction. Most people will sit down, have no idea what's going on, play, chuckle, and then leave.
Yeah, okay. I think it's a regressive tax on the poorest people.
I'm gonna push back.
I think that's regressive. I think it's bad we have this many casinos. I think we need substantially less. We were better off when it was just Vegas and Atlantic City. Completely agree.
I mean,
with
now
that.
we have it on our phones. Even worse than that. You can just bet on anything at any time.
Worst. That's the absolute worst.
Do not gamble on your phones.
Do not gamble.
Gambling is bad. It's a sin. I'm glad we could agree that it's degenerate. Mary, do you have any take on that?
Well, I mean, like, it is a growing problem, especially with even teenagers that are gambling on their smartphones. And
they're gambling in Fortnite.
They've noted that obviously tourism in Vegas is way down because nobody needs to go to Vegas or any.
I go to Vegas once a year. It's so
in
fun.
order to gamble, they just do it in their bedrooms, and I don't think it should be legal.
Hold on. There's only a handful of states that have actually legalized like online casinos.
Pennsylvania,
or at least
Jersey,
it's like 5 states.
Yeah,
sports betting.
Very few.
Sports betting is
a lot bigger.
Still gambling and
no, I
just
agree.
as
I'm
big
saying
as of
like
a
online
problem.
casinos.
Yes.
We should not allow these online casinos.
Not to mention that we've not decriminalized, we've legalized sports betting. And what does that mean? It means that there's the power of capitalism behind it. And I don't mean to sound like a socialist when I say this. No, but Santos, let me finish. The issue here is that we could advertise to impressionable young kids who are watching ESPN and just like sports, but then we're telling them on ESPN and Sports Center that, the odds, like, I don't care about the sports odd for my sports. Sports has become tainted so much by this BS gambling.
You're correct.
That is true. I give you that.
And you should abstain from this sin, Mr. Santos.
3% of government's collective taxes come from gambling, and that's a big deal, right? The reason we legalize gambling in this country is to tax it, or else you were just going to let, I guess, the Gambino crime family keep all the proceeds. I mean, I'm being very direct.
That's the difference between promoting it.
No. Okay,
I'm just going to go back to like Prohibition era and go back. We banned alcohol, and then the entire underground movement of alcohol took all the tax revenue.
During Prohibition,
How far does that
drinking
go?
actually did go down significantly.
Sure, but and crime went up, and smuggling booze went up, and speakeasies were going all over the place, not
George,
paying taxes.
Of course, illegal drinking went up during the Prohibition because drinking became illegal.
Of course.
But drinking overall did become less
drinking.
common.
Violent crime in general increased with the trade. So, look, I'm fairly libertarian. My attitude is society should be socially unacceptable to a great degree. Where I would disagree with you
wouldn't you say that gambling is
No.
I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, I sit here. I don't think I've ever publicly said on anywhere that I like gambling. I don't have a gambling issue. I mean, I don't gamble every day. I don't have an issue with gambling on my phone.
It's okay. You've done worse.
No.
Do you think that you used to have an issue? What you would call an issue?
With gambling, I never had I'm very sober when it comes to gambling. Like, I have a limit. If I go to a casino, let's say I pull out $1,000, I'm like, it's make or break. You're not going to see me run to the ATM and like rape my account of every penny I have like some people do. So I do it for the entertainment. It's very entertaining, but it's funny because I don't think until this very moment I've ever had this public discussion. And I agree, it is still very socially embarrassing to admit you gamble, Tim.
Not amongst teenagers who are sports betting. They talk about it openly. It's a hobby for them.
I'm not a teenager, right?
There are prominent Twitch streamers and influencers who have started gamble streaming where they play these ridiculous games online and they get millions of views from gambling money.
Isn't that like influencer? What's his name? Steve something. Yeah, Steve will do it. Didn't he get like banned from for streaming? Like, and I guess it's not socially acceptable if we're banning people off the platform.
So Elaad is too moralistic. Your point. Here's my argument. Gambling is bad. Most people I see, the overwhelming majority, will sit down, have a free drink, play $100 or whatever, and go, that's enough for me. That was fun. You're talking about people who have addictions. If the problem is people drink too much, smoke too much, eat too much cake, too much of everything is bad. The question is, when do we decide to start banning? You can't buy more cake because you're morbidly obese. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, Bloomberg tried that with soda. Remember?
Exactly. So the issue is, because some people have gambling problems, no one else can play a game of blackjack. That seems silly. So the problem is our culture, our society, and the fact that we are becoming increasingly degenerate, which is why I said we should not have casinos being opened everywhere. We should allow for, say, Vegas or Atlantic City, and maybe some, reservation casinos are fine. But the fact that Maryland now has, I shouldn't say just Maryland, but within 2 hours driving distance of us right now, there's like 12 casinos.
I think
that is wrong.
I think this is part of a bigger thing, though. Young men are struggling. They're struggling with a lot of things. They're struggling with alcohol. They're struggling with porn addiction. And now what do we do to add to the struggles of young men? We're adding legalizing sports betting and sports gambling. I have so many young male friends who are struggling with sports gambling, thousands, tens of thousands in debt. It's extremely common. And what do we have? We have these pervasive ads on things that used to be, used to just hang out with the boys, drink a couple of beers, watch a couple of football games, but now they're throwing this gambling stuff in your face. Moreover, you're not allowed to be an advantage player on these apps. If you come out a winning player, they will ban you from the app.
If you think people weren't gambling on sports until now, I got a bridge to sell.
No, Tim, but I'll tell you, the market exploded. I think the market exploded. I think you guys would be naive to think that the market hasn't exploded with legalization, with how ease of access you have to this. I think you can't compare the black market sports betting to what people have access to nowadays. It just doesn't compare. I think we could look up what the numbers are. I think this is like a $100 billion plus industry.
This is a mathematical argument in government that I don't agree with, because and while obviously guns and gambling are very different things, the argument that because we have a broken culture of mentally ill people who murder does not mean I shouldn't be allowed to have a gun. And because there is a society that is encouraging people to be degenerates doesn't mean you should be allowed to place a bet on a sports team. If everyone in this country was of sound moral and principle mind and said, look, I make like a $25 bet once a month for fun with my buddies just because we want to add a little excitement, there's nothing wrong with that. What you're describing as the problem is a culture that has become excessively degenerate. I'm not for banning something because some people have problems.
Sure. Well, I guess the statement that we went from was it already being banned to it being unbanned, and I preferred the way it was before.
It's not. It was always allowed.
It was always allowed. It's just
they created digital apps for you.
They expanded the scope of it.
Sports betting has been illegal.
You're talking about sports betting.
About sports betting in particular, and there's also a lot of limits on these casinos. But again, the ease of access for sports betting in particular, they completely changed the laws around this.
Are you going to punish the great majority because a few people have a problem? It's like, are you going to punish people from drinking soda because some people can't?
Am I punishing people by not letting them have unlimited access to bet away their lives?
No, it
is unlimited.
But I mean,
I think you're being argument. That's a very socialist take. Like, we control what you get to do.
Right. Bloomberg said we're going to tax the poor because they don't know what's good for them and they're not smart enough. So you can't buy large sodas anymore. And I'm like, hold on. Sometimes, rarely, I'm very thirsty. I want to have one big meal and I want a liter of cola. And now because
there's a lot of cola.
It certainly is. And because there's just massively morbid obese people, I'm not allowed to buy a liter of cola?
That's nuts. It's a socialist.
The problem is a degenerate society, not what our access is.
Okay, but we could take this argument to the nth degree. Do you believe that about heroin and fentanyl? I can make these same arguments about heroin and fentanyl, right?
Gambling won't kill you.
Stop, Santos.
You're asking me, just to be clear.
Yes.
If I believe that we should have legal access to hard drugs.
Yes.
So there's a great difference between a hard drug, which literally kills you in small doses, like fentanyl will kill you.
You don't trust people to make their own decisions?
Elaad, stop being retarded.
That is
fentanyl,
so wrong.
A single dose of a person who's ever had before can die instantly from
people
doing
can
it.
responsibly take fentanyl in their own homes. They just need to responsibly dose themselves.
That's
their issue.
That was a New York City subway ad, by the way.
And if they can't, responsibly dose themselves, then maybe it should be illegal.
Elaad, maybe you should stop getting ahead of yourself because I haven't finished my point. You know, slow down. You're so arrogant.
Thank you.
I'm actually largely for the legalization of drugs.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the issue is, as I've said with abortion, it should not be illegal. It should be unthinkable. If everybody in this country had the same moral structure, moral worldview of Charlie Kirk, we wouldn't make drugs illegal.
But that's
Nobody
not the
would be
world
buying
we're
or
living
doing
in.
them.
It's like simply we're not in that.
This is the problem I have with this argument is what you're telling me is people are so stupid. We have to make sure they can't get access to things that can hurt them.
And that is socialism.
I'm talking about gambling,
there's a lot
and
of
online
cases
sports
where
betting.
people
In
But it's a
particular.
choice that people can make.
Also,
And they should be able to have the choice to get heroin and fentanyl and prostitutes.
Illegal.
And you should be able to kill yourself.
Illegal. I think hard drugs
give
should
credit
be
to
illegal.
the idea also that the law teaches morality. Oftentimes, it doesn't always have to reflect the cultural sentiment around a certain action.
I half
the law
agree.
is a moral teacher.
It
to
has to
a
be
certain
moral
degree,
teacher.
but
it has to be based in morality.
But the law contradicts itself.
It is a fact that when you have to write down your laws, your society is breaking apart.
I don't think that's true.
This is absolutely
We've been writing
correct.
laws since the dawn of time.
mean,
though.
the-
I
No,
would push back there.
No, most countries have what's called an unwritten constitution. The Constitution, Wade Stotts, shout out. This is his thesis. He wrote an essay about this. He made a video about it. The UK has an unwritten constitution. What does that mean? Well, there's a thing the body politic largely agree on is acceptable and normal. However, the problem is it's now being violated and they haven't written it down. So in the American colonies, when they said, we'll just have an unwritten constitution, you had I believe it was the anti-federalists saying, no, hold on. We want guarantees from you. You better write it down. Why? Because different colonies had different rules. And if there was going to be a federal authority above them connected to another, they wanted guarantees certain things could never be done. Now we have this issue between the left and the right where the left says the Second Amendment clearly says a regulated militia, which means government control and National Guard. And the right says regulated meant well-serviced and militia was of the people. Which body is correct in their interpretation of the Second Amendment? I would argue ours is. They would argue theirs is. And I would, again, argue they're wrong. When you get to the point where you have to write down you can't murder people, it's because people are being murdered. Why, we have to put a sign on the fridge in the kitchen down here that says, do not take an item if it's not yours. Why did we have to do that? I was shocked to find people were stealing food.
Who steals the lunch?
that's
Who's the
brilliant.
fucking lunch thief?
They would open the door, and what
no
would
way I'm
happen is
barely
no.
here.
Let me tell you what happened. We bought
Guilty
protein
conscious
shakes.
there, Mary.
We brought specific protein shakes for athletes that were coming, and we had like 3 of them. And people showed up and said, these must be for everybody, and drank them. And then we did not have protein shakes for the athletes who requested them. So then we said, we have to put a sign on the door that says, do not take the last item, and do not take things if you don't know who's in
Sure,
it.
Tim, can I ask you a question on that?
Go ahead.
Working in corporate America, this was always an issue, and I was sort of funny. I guess some people aren't married or don't have spouses who cook well, and then they see a more appetizing lunch. Could it be like a lunch swap program at least?
My point is this.
So there's a like when the 10 Commandments were written down, that was literally like a.
You're
social
reminiscing on those
advancement.
Citibank days too much.
You know, that was better. It was better for society that the 10 Commandments got written down because it gives you a guideline. You don't have to guess. And morality is not something that just magically emerges within individuals and within societies. It needs to be organized and dictated to a certain extent.
Do you think that people can't know what God requested them without someone having written it down and then told them?
No, but I think that, first of all, if you want to know what God wants you to do and you ask God, like some people are going to think they get an answer and some people are going to think they don't get an answer, right? That's a pretty amorphous way to go, and it's not really a way to organize a society. But if you put down all of these things in on some stone tablets, for example, and you have a couple of different categories of how these laws work, then I think it makes a lot more sense. Because
Perhaps,
people
but we can
say, okay, let's look at this. Don't do that. Don't do
Sure,
this.
look at the First Amendment. Blasphemy was illegal in 1789.
Okay.
We didn't have free speech back then, but we wrote it down, right? It doesn't mean anything. What matters is
It is still a social advancement to have these things written down and codified and to have codified laws.
So if the First Amendment did not protect people from arrest over blasphemy, what was the function of the First Amendment in 1789?
I'm not arguing about
What was the
First
advancement?
Amendment in 1789.
We wrote down in
But
our
it certainly
Constitution
was
the
an
right to free speech.
It
Why?
certainly
Why?
became an advancement
Why?
over time.
Why?
In 1789?
Why is it an advancement to have written down you have free speech when you get arrested for your speech?
Well, I think things have changed over time for sure. You know,
What was the advancement about it?
People are released after having murdered.
What was the advancement of writing down free speech when people could still be arrested for their speech?
Because people knew what their rights were and they knew what to scream about when they were violated.
They did not, because the First Amendment is unchanged, but the interpretation has changed dramatically back and forth.
And John Adams was really slammed pretty hard when he started putting into place.
Indeed, so writing it down didn't do anything.
Yes, it did, because people were able to say, you can't do that. We have the First Amendment.
And they still arrested people for blasphemy and obscenity.
Sure, and things change over time, and people can fight
the
it.
First Amendment was ever intended as a total free-for-all that you can just say anything.
The point is, the Founding Fathers said we must have the right to freedom of speech. And then everyone went, of course. The ability to express your opinion on matters political is an absolute if we're going to have a new nation. Hence, we wouldn't have had this country because the king was shutting us down. Agreed. And then someone went, I don't like Jesus. And they were like, arrest him. Arrest him. And they did. So it was not free speech. It was what they were arguing.
We should arrest people now who don't.
What they had argued was
they hate
the
Jesus.
First Amendment only applied insofar as your opinion was well within the Overton window of the colonies at the time.
Well, I agree with that. But if you look back, I think the way that we've interpreted the First, the Second, whatever amendment you want to bring into, I mean, the 10th Amendment recently with states' rights, right? I mean, you can go on all of these, but the reality is I think culture and time also influence a lot of how we interpreted a lot of these things. Let's just remember that these documents and these laws were written approximately 250 years ago and established to start the great idea that is the constitutional republic of the United States. So the problem with it is, I mean, I'm a free speech absolutist, but I do believe we have to have guardrails and moral conscience guardrails on what we say. For instance, the lovely morbidly obese teacher who was doing I think that should be reprimanded. There should be social consequences to that.
So let me tell you guys a funny story about West Virginia. Do you know that alcohol is illegal in West Virginia completely?
Oh, it's a dry state?
It is prohibited under the Constitution. You cannot drink alcohol. You cannot manufacture you can't manufacture or sell alcoholic beverages in the state of West Virginia.
Is there no alcohol here at all?
There's tons.
No, I'm saying, but legally, can you buy it in stores?
Of course.
Yeah, it's at 7-Eleven.
Now, how does this make sense?
Explain that.
Because what happened was in 1914, they said, we are going to ban alcohol. We're going to prohibit it, codified it in the Constitution of the state. And then later on, when prohibition gets lifted, you get a bunch of politicians in West Virginia being like, but we banned it in the Constitution, so what do? We have to ratify our Constitution again. And one member of Congress goes, actually, the Constitution says you cannot manufacture or sell intoxicating liquors. Clearly, that doesn't mean ethyl alcohol because it's not toxic. It's just makes you bubbly. Clearly, the intent of the Constitution was to ban wood alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, right? Those are the intoxicating liquors. And they went, oh, we can drink beer again. Writing it down in the Constitution literally did nothing because the body politic of West Virginia said, now we have in beer. And I'll tell you this. West Virginia explicitly bans gambling. There's a casino 15 minutes away.
Yeah, there's
5.
Greenbrier casino.
Greenbrier has one as well. That's not 15 minutes away. That's a few hours. Yeah. West Virginia has 5 locations that were granted exempt status by the state in violation of its constitution to allow gambling.
Well, just like New York. New York now has this huge concession. We have 3, I think, casinos: Yonkers, Catskills, and Queens, but they're just slots, right? No, I'm sorry. Then Jake's 58 out on Suffolk County.
4 down.
What's the Empire Casino?
That's Yonkers. That's
Yonkers, and they're opening Caesars Times Square.
Well, that's the thing. Now that the state got 3 full casino licenses, and it was just like a nightmare, a knife race.
I think Caesars Times Square is the worst idea.
I think it is the worst. You know what? The level of loitering that is going to take place in Caesars Times Square.
It's going to reverse all of Giuliani's good work.
Let me just put
when they're doing Bally's Chicago on the river.
Yeah,
I'll put it this way. It is going to literally be the epicenter of homeless drug addicts that are going to go nuts.
I disagree.
They're going to all
Times Square, Caesars, dude. Times Square, Crown Plaza. I was at a cocktail party once. Like the homeless people were just loitering into the lobby.
When they bring in Caesar, they're going to be cops surrounding Times Square. And
They already are.
Yeah,
yes, but
they get
like
shot.
Yeah.
but it's going to get. There's going to be a heavy hammer when Caesars is put in.
Well, not if we have Che
amount-
Guevara Light.
No way. The amount of money that Caesars is going to make for the state, or for the city in general in taxes, it's going to be absolutely insane.
But does Zora Mandami comprehend that? That's a bigger question.
Bro,
He wants to slash the NYPD, which, by the way, is down 14,000 officers since 2020. From 47,000 to 33.
Let me ask you, what do you think Zoran Mamdani wants?
What he wants is his own personal Havana utopia in the middle of New York City.
Okay.
But with 9-10 million people. It doesn't work.
What I see these communists, people like Zoran, you see all these videos where he does these fake accents. He's always talking different. He's always saying different things. He wants power. So if someone says this casino is going to generate $1 billion a year, put money in your pocket, he's going to be like, how many cops do you need? These are the people that said defund the police, and then when the police arrested Trump supporters, they clapped and cheered.
Well, I guess you're right, because at the end of the day, then he'll have a slush fund to fund his free buses and his supermarkets in the city
Or that
by the government.
But I don't think he actually cares about those things. He's lying for power, and just like Brandon Johnson, those things are never going to happen.
He lives in a rent-stabilized apartment and goes to $500 dinners, so I get it.
I saw those pictures. I saw pictures of him. The other night on Instagram. I saw pictures of him.
Oh, $500 dinner.
What?
Yeah,
he perfectly embodies. I mean, because he's from Uganda, he perfectly embodies the way that the third world conducts their societies, and that's just like the truth of the matter. He will do anything. Like you read through his policy, and everyone's scratching their heads like these policies don't make any sense. I'm like, that's the point. It's not supposed. There's nothing cohesive. He just cares about power, and this is the way that third world societies are structured.
From Africa with love, my friend.
Yeah, precisely.
Like, quite literally, it's insane.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, great job. Our immigration policy. Now we've imported dick like.
So let's zoom out. Let's zoom out. The problem we have right now in the United States in the culture war is that there are two distinct moral worldviews. The two parent factions I describe, or actually I should say a quote to Stephen Marsh, who said this: the multicultural democracy and the constitutional republic. We here all represent the constitutional republic, and the left we would describe as the multicultural democracy. They have an entirely different moral worldview. I believe it's a cult, and their moral worldview is literally just march in lockstep with dear leader. But that's the issue. What we write down in our laws doesn't matter. Why? Well, immigration, for instance, is heavily regulated and codified by Congress. ICE goes to enforce the law, and Democrats do everything they can to obstruct that. So Democrats are acting in, I would describe it as an insurrection or seditious conspiracy.
They're perversively interpreting the 10th Amendment to fit their agenda, right? When they do all these state different policies of, oh, no, ICE-free city. Sanctuary cities are technically illegal in the Constitution of the United States. The overarching document that the supreme law of the land. However, because of the 10th Amendment, they've been able to override that at state levels, like New York State, sanctuary state.
It doesn't make any sense, though, because the Constitution also says federal law supersedes state law.
Exactly, which really tosses away.
What does it matter? What does it matter that we wrote down these laws and codified them as our formal system if Democrats are doing everything to stop it from happening? They are aiding and abetting criminals. They're creating ICE trackers. They are telling their police to arrest conservatives who oppose them, and they're threatening to arrest police who are trying to enforce the laws we codified.
Shout out to Nick Sorter for that, by the way. If it wasn't for Nick Sorter, Portland, we wouldn't know what was going on there.
So this
is the issue. I'd like to give credit to Katie Davis Court from the Post Millennial, who was covering it since June.
We are acting
that too.
We are acting like we need to write down to make sure these laws are upheld, but we all know why immigration must be enforced properly. And even though we all wrote it down, the Democrats are saying, we don't care that you wrote it down. We're going to do whatever we want. Because the issue is, what will your culture accept? That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Well, and then when we get into the argument about, I make this question very simple. If I go to your house and jump in through the window, would you find that to be acceptable, or do you want me to go through the front door? So when I was a congressman, I went to tour the border, and I asked that to actually detainees in El Paso and San Diego. Oh, of course, you come in through the door. I'm like, then why did you come through the back window of our country? And like, these guys looked at me like, oh, but you have to. I'm like, no, dude, this is my home. What are you doing here? Like, this is not how you come in. And, well, you got to understand. And I was running away from tigers in the Amazon. I'm like, oh, there's tigers in the Amazon now.
Yeah,
it's just like wild. The most wildest thing. Like, you can't equate this. And they tell you, and they try to tell you all these sob stories. I walked from Colombia to the United States. I'm like, oh, you're one. How long did it take?
Who told you
3
to do
months.
that? Like nobody told you to do that.
Who invited you?
They're given scripts from NGOs.
I mean, of course they are. Like I saw it firsthand. Shout out to Vish Burra, who was my operations director, who literally we were there. He's like, look, boss, those guys are instructing the immigrants on the other side of the fence, Americans in Mexico, funded by USAID,
money, yeah.
say danger and don't say anything else. And we saw it with our own eyes. It's just like nuts.
Well, there's this Eritrean migrant who went to Sweden. I think it was Sweden.
Yeah.
He raped a girl. He spent 3 years in prison for having raped her, and he wasn't deported because the Court of Appeals said that the rape didn't last. The duration of the event was not long enough.
In the UK.
And so he's not being deported because he didn't rape her for long enough for it to be considered a serious crime under apparently a UN agreement from 1951.
There is more to the story because I was trying to find the details of the case. That the way Sweden defines rape is not the way the way we do. Apparently, you got to correct me on this one because all I read was a cursory summary of it. It said that there was no penetration. Mm-hmm. So the rape,
it's like the E. Jean Carroll version.
No. Like I want to be clear here. Apparently, she was sexually assaulted in some way that wasn't what we would describe as rape. We describe it some other way.
Like
Again, he should have never been allowed in the country in the first place. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm trying to say a lot of people think it's like he pinned her down and. You know.
Well, there's the case in the UK. I think I'm not sure if it's Pakistani or Bangladeshi, where he actually raped a young girl, and the courts literally slapped him on the wrist and said, well, culturally, taking women by force is okay where they come from.
Right.
Like, this literally is happening.
It is insanity.
So I wanted to say to you earlier when you said, well, the UK doesn't have an actual constitution. Well, we can tell. That's why we can't even have steak knives in London. So it's like, it's chaotic. Like, we ought to put the laws. What bothers me the most is when I was in Congress, I would hear people like Tony Gonzalez, Mr. Amnesty, say, oh, I want to pass more laws. I'm like, dude, we already have immigration laws that are not enforced. Like, we have all these laws on the books that are not enforced, but we continuously
This
want
is my
to
point.
put more. I know it's your point.
Yeah.
It's just infuriating because every single thing that you hear these people pander to create profiles for themselves really stems from ignorance. We have so many members of Congress that don't even know the laws on the books.
So here's where we are right now.
Insane.
We
propose the same laws.
Neither did Joe Biden.
We as a body politic recognize there are bad things happening in our country and the law's not being enforced. We tried saying we're going to write these things down and post the sign so you all know we're going to do it. Democrats responded with, we literally don't care what you think is illegal. We're going to allow drugs. We're going to create injection sites. We're going to allow illegal immigrants. We're going to arrest anyone who opposes us. And if your law enforcement comes in, we'll arrest them too. And that's where we're currently at right now, threatening to arrest our law enforcement for enforcing the law. Writing it down did not change the culture of the multicultural democracy. The only thing that's going to change it is if Donald Trump, I got to be honest, guys, looking at everything, I think the only solution is reconstruction.
I agree.
Sending the National Guard into these blue cities and removing people from power and having new elections, rewriting this stuff. Because you've got corruption. People are fleeing these places, and all that's left are the ignorant communists who keep empowering communists. And we are going to have a civil war. Let me simplify it. California goes insane. Conservatives leave and go to Arizona. This creates it skews things more and more in the direction of the left because Democrats don't leave. This guarantees the entrenchment will be further and further left, and you will get a government that is absolutely far left. That far left government will eventually oppose your moderate American state or federal government. Eventually, they'll threaten to arrest or harm your law enforcement or your troops for coming in. So what did Abraham Lincoln do? He suspended habeas corpus. I want to make sure everyone understands. I got into an argument with Grok, so we got to understand this, okay? And I got into an argument with Grok intentionally because these large language models are built on the corporate press narrative machine, which are intent on lying to you. The Civil War started at Fort Sumter in, I believe it was like March of, what was it? Was it March of, might have been April. I don't know, maybe it was April. April of 1861. A couple weeks after that, Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. We were still not in the actual Civil War. Historically, we say Fort Sumter started it, but it was actually 2 months later at the First Battle of Bull Run where people were picnicking on the hillside as Confederate and Union forces were about to fight because they were like, there's no Civil War. It's just not a real thing. So the question then is, under what authority did Abraham Lincoln suspend habeas corpus? He didn't have it. Congress retroactively voted to approve his suspension of habeas corpus 2 years later. 2 years.
Yeah, pro nunc tunc was what they had to do, which is in lieu. This in lieu of that. So in Latin,
after
that's what it would be called.
Congress
after
gave George Bush a whole bunch of extra powers too. For
so my point is this: right now, Donald Trump could suspend habeas corpus, and the precedent would be the exact same as Abraham Lincoln. I am sending troops into states that are in rebellion against federal law, and these troops are going to make sure the law is being upheld and enforced. And we're suspending habeas corpus to protect them from saboteurs because ICE has been shot at, they've been rammed, they've been attacked. The pretext for Abraham Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus was the potential for sabotage from Confederate sympathizers. Lincoln then arrested members of the Maryland legislature. All of this before it was called the Civil War. It wasn't until around 1863 people in this country said, we are in a civil war. So understand where we're at right now, where no one's calling it a civil war. What it would look like is Trump goes on TV today and says, we have made several attempts to send in National Guard into these jurisdictions to aid our ICE law enforcement. 8 USC 1324 clearly makes this illegal. The American people voted for it. We are sending in these troops. However, far-left terrorists have been attacking our personnel, sabotaging vehicles, railroad tracks, and shooting at our law enforcement officers, ramming them in vehicles. So we are going to suspend habeas corpus on the highways when these vehicles are in transport, meaning we can arrest you for any reason. If he did that, it would be identical precedent to what Abraham Lincoln did when he suspended habeas corpus along the railways from Pennsylvania through Maryland into D.C. 2 years later, when Trump wins, Congress will then say, we hereby vote that Trump was right to do it the whole time. So
I'll say this. Look, I'm all for it. I don't disagree. I just feel like we're in a crossroads in this country where we can sit here and talk and ponder and demagogue all we want about it. The reality is, when are we actually going to do all of these things? Because
Trump.
Well, it's not even just Trump. It's like, will President Trump have the backing of a spineless Congress
the Congress isn't doing anything. It's really been horrifying to watch.
It's absolutely atrocious because unfortunately, and I'm saying this to the detriment.
There's good members, but
there's great members. Look,
Congress feels like a rubber stamp to the president's agenda.
That is absolutely insane to even say that.
Why? The one big beautiful bill just was totally the mega agenda.
That's one bill.
The one big beautiful bill.
That's fine, but every single president gets their marquee bill passed. Biden did, Obama did, Trump did. So
Biden had his inflation climate.
Yeah, there's nothing, and they're all BBBs at this point, right? But my point is, it has nothing to do with that. That's not a rubber stamp. A rubber stamp would be Trump calling them and saying, we're going to do martial law. We need congressional support. Rubber, it's not going to happen.
He doesn't need it.
Well, he doesn't need it, but it would be, again, because then they call him a king, right? Because he skipped the legislature.
And what did they say to Lincoln?
They're going to call him whatever they want anyway.
And shot him in the back.
I understand. Well, I don't want that happening to Trump,
anyway.
right?
Agree. My point is,
they're going to call him.
Abraham Lincoln was called a dictator, a tyrant. He was evil. Look, 7 states seceded from the Union, and there were 4 other states that were 2-1 in favor of the Union until Lincoln sent troops into the South. They said, holy crap, Lincoln is a tyrant. We are seceding to, it's out of hand. And then Lincoln won, and he sent in the troops for Reconstruction. So the precedent of what happened in the Civil War, with all of these liberals who would also agree, Abraham Lincoln, the greatest president we've ever had. It's like, okay, wait till you see what that looks like. Because we can talk about this. Here's a question for you, George. And it's not a trick question.
No, go ahead.
Who are the good guys in the Civil War?
To me, the Union.
Most people are going to say the Union. Almost all people are going to say the Union.
Yeah.
So when Abraham Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus, he threatened journalists with arrest. He threatened Supreme Court justices with arrest. He arrested members of the Maryland legislature. He arrested Northern sympathizers with the Confederacy. He sent troops in. Obviously, we know he did that.
He jailed members of Congress. Members of Congress were expelled, right? And he jailed members of Congress. I agree with everything you're saying, right?
So, and then we had Sherman, who marched to the sea, raising farmlands, massacring civilians, destroying railroads, making sure they couldn't eat. And boy, if you go down south, nobody forgot Sherman. And they're the good guys. Slavery was bad, and the South was trying to secede. So the scorched earth war tactics of Sherman, massacring civilians, burning down farms, just destroying generations of homes, even among people who were not involved, was a necessary. They said, you know what? Punish them. Make sure they feel the pain.
Well, they were setting examples, right? Which I disagree. And again, these are barbaric tactics of war. But then I always remind people when we talk about war and war times, what's the number one currency of war? And everybody looks at me like, what do you mean currency? Weapons? I'm like, no, death. Like, that's the number one currency. That's the toll of war, right? People are going to die. So again, and tactics are in some cases we've heard a lot of testimony in Congress about Afghanistan and Iraq and some things that are reprehensible that were done by our troops that we have to sit here and be like, well, that's not good, And I love our veterans, and I love the fact that we're out there for a war, for freedom and whatnot. But I agree, it's always going to be tough in war. We're always going to have people who, I mean, go back to World War II. There's people who think that Hitler was right, and I think it's nuts. When I hear that, I'm like, who thinks this was good, And I have to debate this. I debated this in prison, actually, where somebody came and said, Hitler wasn't too wrong. I'm like, you're certifiable, stay away from me. And the person continued to antagonize me, and it was like this whole blown out debate. So you're gonna find crazy or people who sympathize with wrong regardless. So.
My point is simply, the only thing that needs to happen for Trump to win is Trump decides to escalate his tactics, and then he has to succeed in his strategies. After that, history is written by the victors. Trump can write whatever he wants. In the event Democrats decide to go full bore against Trump, which I believe they already did, and I believe they're losing, but if they do succeed, they will just simply write that they were the good guys and they won. The rest of us go to prison.
The Democrats will never be the good guys.
Lori Lightfoot thing. Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former Democrat mayor, she launched...
Oh, Beetlejuice.
Yeah, she launched the...
I forgot about her.
She just launched the ICE Accountability Project, where she's calling basically to dox all ICE agents. She's like, we're going to put up pictures of what they look like and what they're wearing and their shoes and their cars and where they live. And then she had the nerve to say it wasn't doxing. But this is what she's doing. And you also have, what was it like... some people in the House are putting together a website to track all ICE enforcement across the country.
Well, that's just criminal.
Well, it is criminal. And you also had the ICE Tracker app, which was removed from Google and Apple stores on the, their app stores. But now we have lawmakers actually doing this stuff. And to your point, Tim, I don't think that the president has the stomach to do any of that stuff. And I don't think the Republicans have the stomach for any of it either. They certainly don't when it comes to the House. They can't even get the government back open to.
Well, that's not the House. That's the Senate.
Right,
that's a Democrat. That's all on Schumer. We do talk of accountability. Who's going to hold Lori Lightfoot accountable for looking like an absolute mess, destroying Chicago? And what is that on her head? Is that hair?
Nobody's going to.
Where's the accountability there? There's no accountability.
We got to go to you, your Super Chats and Rumble Rants, so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. The uncensored portion of the show is coming up at 10 p.m. at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. You don't want to miss it. Don't forget, we've got an event coming up, dccomedyloft.com. Click events. Look for us November 8th. Alex Stein, Emily Saves America, Myron Gaines, and Brian Shapiro dating in the modern era. That's the debate. But for now, we'll grab your rants and chats from everybody else. CB says the left worships kindness. If you disagree with their definition of that or think we should prioritize something else, you're a Nazi. I don't know that the kindness is the right word. It's likeness. Do what they say or else. Ray just says if your fantasy league team isn't pulling through for you, you can just claim that the mob bribed them to throw the game. How do we think this will affect sports betting moving forward? It'll clean it up, I think.
Did you see where on ESPN today they were breaking the story, and on their Chiron on the bottom they have their ESPN bet, Chiron advertisement, and they just took it off in the middle of the segment, and it's just a gray box there. Some PA got chewed out, dude, no, get it off. And there's nothing there. It was all right, guys.
Shane H. Wilder says, as a sports fan, we've talked about games being rigged for ages. The NBA is not surprised when we see how many easy baskets are missed. Don't even get me started on the flopping like you got fouled. Oh, everyone's talked about football for ages, too. I watch so many conspiracy theory videos, and they say that the NFL is sports entertainment. That's how it's actually registered, which means they're legally allowed to rig the games.
So that explains Aaron Rodgers and the Jets' first, 30 seconds. I was there for that. That was really painful.
You were there.
People think?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Shane H. Wilder says, even I will admit my beloved Astros cheated to win the World Series. With the middle name of Houston, I can't just switch teams.
Yeah.
Is that what happened with the Astros?
The Astros, so typically when you're stealing signs, it just means you have someone on second base. Well, they had a TV in the dugout, and they had a trash can, and they would bang on the trash can to signal signs to the batter, so he would know if
they're
it was
watching on TV.
Yes, they're watching on TV, so the batter would know if it's a pitch worth.
I don't think that's the first time that happened either.
Well, I mean, it's been. There's ways of stealing signs.
And they get in trouble for that?
Yeah.
Oh,
But they did. As far as I know, they didn't vacate the World Series. I don't think.
There was another situation where you know how they started miking everybody who's on the field,
Right.
And so people were watching the game and they could hear the coaches talking about stuff.
Yeah. But stealing signs has always been a thing. That just means you have someone on second base and he's just sitting there because the catcher's signing pitches.
You watch it.
Yeah.
But this was like egregious because you could listen back through all the broadcasts and just hear boom, 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 and then Altuve would just knock a home run. So wild stuff.
All right. Chad's Up Net says, we're a few days late, but baby girl number 3 was born last Saturday. Moved to Texas from California last year. Bought more guns. Keep it up, Timcast and crew. We appreciate everything you do.
Congrats.
Welcome to the world, Patriot.
Madcap Falcon says, awesome to see one of the greatest congressmen of all time. Question for Santos, how many chi-chis you ate in prison? You look chunky.
Chi-chis? What's a
What?
Chimichanga? I don't know what that
That's
is.
a
What the
euphemism.
hell's a chi-chi? Look, actually I lost weight, so I do. I F you.
How is the food?
The food was really bad. I mean, you know what? There were days that it was not descriptive. Non-descriptive. I felt like they just opened like cans of Friskies and dumped it. I was like, yeah, my cat.
Did you get in any fights?
No. Oh yeah, like me. Oh no. I mean, sharp tongued. Like I could get into verbal arguments.
Were there a lot of fights?
No, not really. I was in I went to a camp, right? So it's like Camp Cupcake. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's like a bunch of like white collar whiny guys and then a bunch of like old drug dealers who've been doing so much long time that they're like at the tail end of their sentences and they're not going to mess up.
Right.
It's like literally Camp Buttercup. And then there was this one really eccentric Jewish guy there, which was very fun.
It wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me. I'm Ish. So there was this actually really conservative Jewish guy there who really managed to get some guys to completely convert only to have the kosher meal.
Okay. And you didn't get the kosher meal. Okay.
I did not get it.
Didn't believe you in the jail.
I know. I just didn't want to do it. I said, I think this is going to help with my rehabilitation going on kosher. So I said, let's just not do that. But it was really bad food.
Did you have to run? You didn't have to run with a gang. Nobody effed with you.
Oh yeah, sure. I joined the gang.
I thought that's what you had to do.
I have
in
like
prison.
this tattoo. I'm like, no.
They're like,
That's what they do in the
like
TV
gang
shows.
buttercream
Camp
and
prison.
gang chocolate
Okay.
mousse, right? That's what they have at Camp Cupcake.
Lucas Zor says, Mary is correct. Laws help inform morality, and morality influences laws. Giving people a structure to base their life on is actually good. Let me phrase it like this. I don't care for laws. I care for God's laws. I think that a religious moral structure is a legitimate means of writing something down. I believe that humans getting into a room and then writing down what they think is important and matters for other people won't make the other people do what they want them to do unless they already shared the intrinsic moral worldview.
But I'm also saying that the law can influence whether or not society has those common principles. The law teaches morality.
I think the Bible teaches, I think Christian moral tradition teaches, and I think the laws.
But civil law also does.
I don't agree. I think civil law is derivative of moral worldview, and this is a Christian nation founded by people of a Christian moral tradition. And if you did not have that worldview, you would not care for the laws that were written because you'd view them as others, which is what we're experiencing now.
Yeah, like in order for the Constitution to make any sense, you have to be participating in the culture in which the Constitution was written. And that's where the breakdown comes. Like with like the Second Amendment, you need to be participating in the culture around the Second Amendment. With the First Amendment, like that's just how this works, and it's all derivative of natural law.
We gave Liberia the American Constitution.
Right.
It didn't work.
Yeah. You have to be a participant in that original, like Oron McIntyre and Tucker talked about this recently, and Oron pointed to that sort of original sort of Anglo-Protestant culture as something that you kind of have to sort of
we tried bringing it
make any
to
sense.
Afghanistan as well. It didn't work. Vietnam, it didn't
To
work.
the extent that we can still describe this country as having a Christian culture, it's one that's inherited, not earned by the people who enjoy it. And we inherited laws that, of course, were written originally and codified by Christians.
Agreed.
Devout Christians.
And that's why I'm saying-
we enjoy the benefits of that, and it informs what little we have left of Christian morality in this country, even among people who don't identify as Christian.
I think that you could get rid of 99% of laws if everyone was actually a devout Christian. Because the laws are already in the Bible. There's already the teachings. There's already what people know to follow.
I mean, historically...
we wrote down these laws, and in Dearborn, Michigan, the Muslims are still chopping off lady parts.
The Constitution was designed mostly lecturing the government rather than the people. I mean, this is obviously because it stems from like the Magna Carta, and like when the Magna Carta was established, that was more putting restrictions on the king, because like in pre-Norman English society,
sure.
it was very like free for all.
Right. The point being that when the founding fathers were like, we all agree we have a right to free speech. You, government, you can't infringe upon it. Clearly, we don't mean blasphemy, though. They didn't write down they didn't mean blasphemy. So the point is, we wrote these laws derivative of the Christian moral tradition, and that's why these laws don't matter to people in Dearborn, Michigan, because they're Islamic. They follow Sharia. So you've got all these stories of young girls getting their female circumcision is a problem in these areas. You've got Sharia patrols. They don't care what our laws say, and Democrats don't either. If they don't share the moral tradition of Christianity, they're literally going to be like, you can write down whatever you want. And here's a better way to put it.
Sharia patrols in New York City, by the way.
Sure, but here's a better way to put it.
There's also Jewish patrols.
Let me ask you guys a question. If the town you live in, Mary,
Sharia, it's like
passed a law. Okay, Mary, if the town you live in passed a law saying women weren't allowed to go outside without being accompanied by a man anymore, and you had to wear a burqa, would you agree with that law and say okay, or would you be like no?
What would it mean for me to say no?
Go outside and walk around and do whatever you want.
Defy the law and then get arrested?
Maybe you get arrested, or maybe they'd ticket you. But would you defy the law in any way, regardless of the consequences?
Probably.
But they wrote it down. Why isn't that informing you? Like, why wouldn't you obey?
What I mean is, historically, and you're right that when people share the same religious foundation that informs their morality, they don't need to be policed, and it's mostly self-enforced. But historically, in societies mostly comprised of devout, believing Christians, they still did codify Christian morality into law. And it still mattered that they codified it.
So the issue that here, the way I see it is, largely it was not in smaller communities, as their morality was already informed by the Bible, and the community was small enough to where they basically knew what you could and couldn't get away with. As society started growing and becoming when society got big, they said, we're going to start writing things down, Congress, things like that. But everyone still largely agreed with the gist of it. That's why I say 95% of laws, because there's like property rights and how tall can your sign be. These are getting in the weeds. But when you started going multicultural, writing things down did not matter. Writing the law down to inform morality, the point where I disagree with it is, the ideas of what is the true moral worldview we have come from the Christian moral tradition. Whether any atheist wants to agree or not doesn't matter, because it's a fact. Mm-hmm. We have a Christian moral tradition. Our amendments are rooted in things like Blackstone's formulation, the precedent set by Christians, and the teachings of the Bible. And you don't have to be a Christian to follow those things. However, we then start getting multicultural society. When we wrote these laws down, like your flag can only be 20 feet high, it was because people of the shared moral worldview were like, okay, I get it. If I want to challenge this, here's the process by which we settle our disagreements and what we can or can't do pertaining to certain laws. So we ban some things, we ban some other things. We say, okay, right? That's minutia of morality. That is not the overarching moral worldview. Now you're bringing in Asian cultures, Middle Eastern cultures. Islam is a great example. And their moral worldview is so far at odds with the Christian moral tradition. They're like, we literally don't care what you write down. We will not follow that. They understand we are telling these people, we as the Constitutional Republic of America will lock you up and throw away the key if you violate what we've written down. So their response is, make sure they don't catch you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even beyond just the Christian, because we're introducing two pieces to the recipe here, is the Christian component and whatnot. But even like you cited Liberia as an example. I mean, Liberia is a predominantly Christian country, so there has to be that cultural element is like absolutely necessary in combination.
They eat each other.
With the Christian combination. Right, exactly. So it's like America fundamentally is like a Western country. So it's like the Christian, it is true that is part of the recipe, but it has to be in combination with the cultural background of the people as well, or it won't work. I mean, Liberia, Exhibit A. And same right. like Kenya. I mean, Kenya inherited pretty much all of theirs from Britain, and they're fundamentally different from Britain. Not anymore, but they used to be fundamentally different from Britain.
Well, let's grab some more of your chats and carry the conversation. Melania Mama says, heard a theory that the droning of these boats is not about narco-terrorism or regime change. Iran and China are running operatives out of Venezuela. They plan to activate cells in the U.S. when they're ready to take Taiwan in 2027. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, that's a theory I actually espoused when I was still in the House because of the immigration. So many Chinese nationals at the border. It strikes me odd because they don't have a hard time getting visas to come here in China. They don't actually need to come here illegally. The fact that they're coming in here illegally, they were trying to be undetected, just like we've learned throughout the years that they like to be undetected in here to activate. And I concur with that. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's a fact. And I just think it's a matter of time that we're going to learn the fact. And it's going to be very uncomfortable. I love the fact that it's going to be Joe Biden's legacy that we're going to have to fix.
You support the president drone striking these narco-terrorist boats off of the coast of
I wish he would hire me to do the operation. I'd sit in a control room playing, like, what's the name of that game back, like that very old game that like you would whatever that you would
Galaga?
Battleship.
Not Battleship. I'm saying the little a shooter that you shoot aliens.
Yeah,
like
Galaga.
Oh,
there
Galaga.
you go. I would sit there in a control room, literally playing Alien Invader, shooting every.
Well, I made
vessel.
this game.
There you go.
I'm gonna. I'm gonna.
71% of Americans support this cartel action.
Are you kidding? I'm shocked it's not 100.
I have to wait to the uncensored portion of the show to explain my video game to former Representative Santos.
Yeah.
But you'll enjoy it. So give us 8 minutes. Let's read some more. Dr. Rick says $5,000 head-to-head Texas Hold'em between you and me with a one-time $5,000 reload here in Yonkers on a Friday night. Live broadcasted on your podcast. It'll be an education on how to play poker. I'm gonna say no.
Don't go to Yonkers.
Well, I'm gonna say
That's
no.
already a good plan.
I'm gonna say no for a couple reasons. It's not called head to head. It's called heads up, and I guess reload is technically correct, but you could say rebuy. So I'll let that one slide, I suppose. But when you didn't say heads up match, I fear that you may only think you're good at poker.
Don't go to Yonkers.
Heads up feels like a different game than
heads up is what it's called when it's only two players.
Yeah, it feels different than like.
Oh, it's very different.
Totally different
I love playing heads up.
Oh, I don't.
It's a much more difficult.
I'm not used to the ranges on heads up.
You play cards?
I fall short of the glory of God. So yes, I'm.
You literally patronized us for an entire moment of this. You play cards.
You should do better
Shut
than me.
up.
Be better than me.
Actually, shut up. This dude literally busted our chops for like a solid 20 minutes of this show to only turn around and say he plays cards. You are so full of.
As I say, not as I do. I didn't say I don't play poker.
what?
Wait, it's a skill game.
Nancy
it's not
Pelosi,
gambling.
walk away.
It's not a gambling.
It's
a game of skill, actually, Santos.
I'm done.
Can you build us a parlay for tonight? I don't know. Maybe
I don't do just. I only do skill-based games.
Ah, okay.
No blackjack.
I am so mad at you right now.
I'm just kidding there, Dr. Rick. I don't think I'd want to play. So I played the World Poker Tour stream. I'm getting invited. I'm a pro poker player now. I get invited to these games, but I don't like playing high stakes poker. So they reached out and they said they want to play a 5-10 game. That's $5, $10 big blinds. And then I said, what's the max buy? And they said, there isn't one. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to sit down at a table where a guy puts 20 grand in front of me. And like, I'm not playing. And they said, okay, we'll do 5. How's $5 grand sound? And even then I'm like, I guess. I ended up losing $7,000. I just ran as miserably as possible. And I called shenanigans that they put Doug Polk to my left. But that I'm just kidding about. But now I got invited to a 25-50 game. Do you know what that is?
They think you're their whale. That's what's going on.
Oh, bro, I'm tiny compared to these players.
Okay.
Dude, I got invited to a game in Vegas, a show with pros, and their buy-ins are going to be like 25,000, and they're like, you could buy in for 5 or 10. I'm like, I'm not playing a game that big, dude. I usually play 2-5. 2-5 is my game. It's not the lowest stakes, but it's like basically second lowest at any poker room, and usually you buy in for like $1,000 or $2,000, so it can be big bets. But it's a stable game. Low stakes it's insanity.
You know, the thing about poker that frustrates me is it's so easy to intimidate somebody on a bluff. Or like you described it perfectly earlier. The thing I like about blackjack is I sit at the bare minimum stakes table, $50 minimum hands, but I play like an absolute
50.
Well,
We got 15 out here, bro.
Well, I'm saying I play high limits because of the hand shuffle. Less decks, you only get 6 decks instead of 8 decks.
Right.
So it's your odds are you're 104 cards less.
The edge is lower for the house.
So, exactly, but. I'm betting like an absolute animal, and for me, I just find like the risk reward is better, and you get a better bang for your buck when you're playing.
So I will say, if you're gonna play, like roulette's a really great example.
I love roulette. It's so toxic.
MGM has, if you go to MGM National Harbor, they have 000.
It's awful.
Do not play that game.
It's a waste of money
because your minimum bet is going to be, I think, probably $100 inside or outside. But if you go to the high limit room, your minimum bet is 200, 0.
Yep.
Meaning you've got like
European roulette.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be American until they were like, hey, we can put extra numbers in here and rip people off and they will just keep playing. Yeah. So 000 is nuts.
Yeah. That MGM sign on the wheel like throws me off because then it changes the orders of how you play your numbers and the neighbors. So again, roulette. Roulette's a great drunk game.
If you're not familiar with 000 and you go to MGM, they've got 000 MGM.
Yep.
And you might think it's an emblem.
Yep.
And then it lands on the MGM. You're like, wait, what happened? And they're like, you lose. And you're like, that's a bet?
That happened to me.
Yep.
My birthday in 2023, we celebrated, and then everybody decides, well, we haven't partied enough. It's 11 o'clock at night. Let's just go to MGM. And I fell exactly for that.
Yep.
Me and a bunch of people fell for it. We didn't realize it.
I see a ton of people go like, oh, wait, I thought it was an emblem.
And not to mention, you're betting completely off, right? Because you think you're betting your numbers and their neighbors, and you're just not.
They changed the order of the wheel.
It's awful.
All right, what do we got here? Pumpkin Spice says, Tim, what would your advice be for someone looking to get into poker? I know the basics of the game and could afford to play with $100. Your thoughts? The first thing I would say is...
Don't make fun of people like that.
No,
it's awful.
Here, Tim will explain why that's dumb.
No, what? The first thing I'd say is download the World Series of Poker app. It's free. It's a no-stakes game, so they give you fake chips to play with, and then you can play. I'd then recommend you watch Lodge Live Stream Poker and Hustler Casino Live Poker. However, they play a little wild on those shows intentionally to make them entertaining. I would recommend watching Triton Series or like WPT tournament events and the World Series tournament events so you can see how people are playing, the things they're doing. You need to watch a lot. I wouldn't recommend sitting down with $100 having not done any of those things. If you have a ton of money, the fast and easiest way to learn is to sit at a table, because theoretically, if you go to a casino, it's a 1-2 game or 1-3. Every orbit, maybe, I don't know, that could take 20 minutes. You're going to have to put in $1 or you have to put in $2, then $1, but you don't have to put any other money in if you don't want to. Theoretically, you could be on the big blind and just accidentally win and take it down. Sometimes the blinds will chop because nobody chooses to play, and you can get a feel for the terminology, the rules, what people are saying, and to a certain degree, people will try to help you because more players is always better for the game, and they won't rip you off so long as you choose not to put money in the middle. I would just say play free online versions first, which is not really going to teach you a lot about how advanced strategy is, but you will at least understand the basics of like, oh, I got an ace and a 3, and you'll start to learn. If you do want to play with $100, you're in a very weak position. Typically, $100 is the lowest buy-in for any card room. And when you are low, it's called short stacked, and you're basically going all in whenever you decide to make a bet, which it's not very fun. I don't like. Then there's also deep stack, where you have a massive amount of money relative to the blinds, and I'm not a big fan of that. But there's a lot more room for strategy. Here's basically what's going to happen. You're going to look down at a good hand. Maybe you have ace-queen suited. And so you're playing a 1-2 game. You say, I'll bet $10. Someone then goes, I'm going to raise to 50. Well, your only option then is to call or go all in. You don't have a lot of options at that point. So you're basically, if you're playing for $100, you're like, I got ace-queen. I'm all in. Who wants to flip for it? And then there's no real strategy involved. It's called flipping. So study. Always important. All right, let's see. Scott House says, George would be a fun regular on the cast. More Santos, please. George is always welcome to come back. Where are you based out of?
For now, New York, but
okay, well, you come back whenever you want.
Probably not staying there. Not with Damian.
Do you know Milo? Are you friends with Milo?
Yiannopoulos?
Yeah.
I plead the fifth.
All right.
No, I love Milo. I love Milo.
I was just saying, like,
an episode with me and him would be chaotic, though.
Exactly.
Very chaotic.
I was like, we should have you and Milo on because it would just be a cacophony of.
Do you know who would be fun too? Well, if we're doing that, then that would be fun. But another person that I think who literally texted me said he was here, but it was the day your daughter was born, so he didn't get to meet you. Is Kevin Smith, a buddy of mine from Long Island.
Oh, right on.
Loves you. Very good friend of mine. Shout out to Kevin who's watching. But yeah,
All right,
I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Everybody smash the like button, share the show. We're going to the Rumble Uncensored show over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. But before you do that, go to timcast.com. Join our Discord community. You will be able to call in to our members-only Uncensored show. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we are trying an experiment. We're going to pre-record the show because it's Friday night. Here's why. Friday nights usually have slightly lower viewership because it's Friday night. People are going out and doing stuff. And then people will watch Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and Monday morning, and we can see it actually breaks up over the weekend. Additionally, there's no news breaking late on Fridays for the most part. When people bury stories, it'll be sometime in the afternoon. So we thought, okay, well, what can we do to maximize efficiency? Pre-record, premiere it at the normal time for everybody else, but for our Discord members, backstage pass. What we're going to do is basically, as we're doing pre-production setting up, everything we're saying as we're gearing up for the show will be audible to the Discord members, who will be able to then ask questions, because as a pre-record, we won't be taking super chats. We'll be taking Discord member commentary and questions. And I assure you, the hour of pre-production is a show unto itself. And sometimes I'm like, we should have recorded all of that. So now we're doing the Friday backstage pass for our Discord members. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then that means you get to watch the show early if you so choose, but it will air premiered at the normal time as the show normally does. So follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Join us at timcast.com. George, do you want to shout anything out?
George, Mr. Santos NY on X, and make sure you go on Cameo. I just got Tim to join Cameo, so make sure you get your cameos.
And I said,
very fun.
I'm charged. I said I'll join, but I'm going to charge a lot of money because.
No, he's not. He's going to lower it. I promise you.
I'm at Timcast on Cameo.
Yeah.
How did no one take that?
I think it's because you can't.
Oh, okay.
You can't. You have to be the talent.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a impersonator, and then it's like a Timcast impersonator, there is one charging $10. Fake, doesn't look like him. It's not Tim. Yeah.
Can people impersonate me? I'm a hard guy to impersonate.
Well, I mean, this dude put a beanie on and thinks he looks like you, so maybe it works. I might try it out.
I gotta tell George about the video game that I made. But we'll do that after we finish here.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Elaad Eliyahu, White House correspondent here at Timcast. Mr. Santos, thank you so much for dropping in.
It's great to see you again. It's been a minute.
Oh, we'll get into it on the after show. We have a little bit of history.
Guys, go subscribe to Pop Culture Crisis. We go live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And you can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. And help me get TikTok famous. That is also Mary Archived. And of course, don't forget to go to castbrew.com and get yourself a bag of Mary's Ghost Blend.
I'm Libby Emmons. You can find me on Twitter at Libby Emmons. And also, you can check out everything we're doing at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com. And you could sign up for my newsletter at thepostmillennial.com/Libby.
Hey, I got to plug today's interview on the Culture War with Doug Polk. Fantastic stuff. Go check that out. And otherwise, you can follow me on X and Instagram at RealTateBrown. We'll see you guys later.
We'll see you all over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.